Chapter 553. After calming down, Irina lowered her head and looked at the amulet in her palm. She muttered to herself, no wonder the starry sky felt so familiar. So it's because of this. After 10 seconds of silence, she stood up, picked up her phone, and walked to the window. Her black hair draped over her back like silk, complementing her white lace pajamas. Looking at the city that never sleeps in the flowing galaxy, she dialed a number using the satellite hotline. After a series of beeping sounds, a languid male voice sounded. Still awake. Irina took a deep breath and looked into the distance. She said calmly, "Gu, I met someone. He's a little similar to the amulet you gave me. They both smell like the starry sky." What? The man on the other end of the phone blurted out. After a few seconds, he asked in a deep voice, "Who is it?" "Lu Cheng, the heavenly son of China." Princess Irina narrowed her blood-red eyes, reflecting the lights of thousands of homes. "Got it." The man paused for a moment before replying, "Don't provoke him or attract his attention. I'll make arrangements for the rest." "Okay, I just wanted to inform you." Irina smiled and asked, "Is the sun still so bright in John Walberg?" Her beautiful face was expressionless, without a trace of a smile. "Yes, I'm sunbathing and about to fall asleep." The man on the other end replied with a laugh. After chatting for a while, they hung up. Irina was still standing by the window. Her pajamas were pure white, her hair was black, and her eyes were blood-red. Her gaze was deep and distant as she looked at the outside world. She muttered to herself, "Gu, does your mystery have anything to do with this?" The Samano royal family security team was not only responsible for guarding against accidents and ensuring safety, but also keeping an eye on some of the bloodline members and preventing them from venting their anger outside. That was the responsibility of damaging the country's reputation. Therefore, the night passed without any incidents. Lu Qing and Jiao Lu had a rather relaxing time. It was the same the next day. The schedule was tight, with talks, visits, balls, and even banquets. "TSK, what did you do yesterday? Did the Samano royal family's princess take a liking to you?" "She kept looking at us." She kept looking. Jiao Lu took a look at the beautiful Irina, took a deep breath, and clicked her tongue. Lu Qing curled his lips and said, "You like me? She wants to fight with me. She's also an expert of a similar level. She'll definitely be delighted to meet a worthy opponent." He had done his research beforehand and was very clear about Irina's strength. "Then why didn't she look at me?" Jiao Lu retorted. As soon as the words crossed her mind, she was immediately annoyed. "Just pretend I didn't ask." The answer was very simple. Lu Qing was the heavenly son of the era and had a great reputation. She had been promoted in the martial arts school but had never won a prestigious championship. Although her talents and strength were not bad, they were not widely known. For the princess of the Samano royal family, she really didn't know who he was. "Good thing I don't have to answer." Lu Qing joked with a smile. "My answer is that you are too weak." This would make Jiao Lu furious, right? Just as Jiao Lu was curious and wanted to get to the bottom of this, Irina slowly walked over with a glass of pale golden champagne. Hey, she's here to challenge you to a duel. Do you accept?" Jiao Lu asked with great interest as a bystander. "I'll have to ask Shui Jian." Lu Qing was not a coward and was eager to give it a try. Irina stopped in front of him with a graceful posture. Her lips curled into a smile. She said in English, "Lu, has anyone ever told you that you smell good? What kind of script is this?" "Miss, did you say the wrong lines?" Lu Qing was confused. What happened to the agreed duel? After a few seconds, he came back to his senses and shook his head in confusion. "No. Cuckoo often says that I'm smelly." Irina frowned slightly before breaking into a smile. That's a pity. After that, she turned around and walked back to the center of the banquet. What did she mean? Lu Qing looked at Jia Lu, perplexed. Jia Lu was also stunned. Her bright eyes were filled with confusion. After a while, she seemed to have come to a realization. She smiled and said, "Do you need me to translate the real meaning?" "Let's hear it." Lu Qing was perplexed. "In short, your conversation went like this." Jia Lu paused for a moment before teasing, "Dating? No way. Be serious." Lu Qing did not expect Jia Lu to be such a girl and was almost speechless. This girl usually looked lively but was actually the type that kept people at arm's length. She liked to watch a show but was unwilling to get involved. Who knew she had such a side to her? Jia Lu chuckled and said, "I'm serious. If she wasn't dating, why would she say that you smell good? Shouldn't she at least have a chat and talk about the dishes for dinner? If you answered, you're the first one, or is that so? What does it feel like? You could have slept with the princess tonight. Although they're going to the airport later, you still have time. Are you regretting it?" This was the first time she had encountered such a situation. She was really interested. "I'm glad that I didn't answer correctly." Lu Qing wiped the non-existent cold sweat on his forehead. He felt that Jia Lu's words made sense. If he had answered wrongly and gotten Princess Irina to pester him, he wouldn't be able to clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. How could he face his little fairy then? "I'm not considered handsome, and my temperament can only be said to be that of a strong person, the kind that's gentle and reserved. As for my taste, it's even more illusory." Did Irina approach me to collect stamps, or did she have other motives? Could it be that the Samano royal family is really like the vampires in novels where they can do great things by sucking a small amount of my blood? Lu Cheng's thoughts ran wild as his imagination ran wild. After that, there were no more incidents until the Samano royal family arrived at the airport after the farewell banquet and flew out of China. "All right, your mission is over. Sorry to trouble you too." Xue Jian's voice sounded in Lu Qing and Jia Lu's earphones. Phew, finally free. Jia Lu took off her walkie-talkie and looked at Lu Qing. "I can't wait until tomorrow so I can go to the club's training ground to practice my martial arts." "Me too." Lu Qing smiled and chimed in. Jia Lu's thoughts jumped and she suddenly said, "I haven't sparred with you yet, right? Why don't we not draw lots on Friday and challenge you directly?" She wanted to experience the prowess of the heavenly son of China, find the gap and catch up head-on. This week. Not this week. Maybe next time. Lu Qing thought for a while and rejected her suggestion. "Why? Did someone arrange it in advance?" asked Jia Lu, puzzled. Lu Qing replied with a smile, "I have something on that afternoon and have to take leave." "All right." Jia Lu didn't ask any more questions. She regained the temperament of a bystander who was free from worldly affairs. After Lu Qing received another round of guidance from the Dragon King and the other physical and vulnerability mighty ones, time flew by and it was Friday in the blink of an eye. Ever since he left in the morning and took the SUV to the club, he had been smiling from time to time. He wasn't the least bit annoyed by Alman and Huang Bin's greetings and even took the initiative to chat a little longer. He told them that he wouldn't be having dinner at the restaurant and that he had to leave at 2 in the afternoon and that it would be great if they could arrange for a ride. Alman and Huang Bin couldn't be bothered to guess why he was in such a good mood. They immediately agreed and tried their best to impress him. After spending the entire morning in the Dan stage training room, Lu Cheng's efficiency was higher than usual. His appetite was even better at noon and he ate a few more dishes. Just as he was about to tidy up and head to the exclusive resting room, Alman walked in quickly. She smiled and said to all the inhuman mighty ones present, "You can register for the Battle of the Kings now. Who wants to participate? It starts on the 19th of August this year. The Longhu Club's requirement for members of the reserve team was to participate in at least 3 preliminary rounds of the title battle every year. They could choose their own targets. Me. It's rare to have the opportunity to spar with friends of the same level. Tu Zhang was the first to register. Lu Qing raised his hand and said, "Me too." This was the arrangement that the club had made clear from the start. They would first practice the dance stage chapter of the Fire Sect, then participate in the preliminary rounds of the Battle of the Kings to digest what they had learned through actual combat. "Since all of you are going, I'll join in the fun too." Yuan Yuan, Sun Jianlin, Lu Xiaofei, and Jia Lu said one after another. Even the inhuman mighty ones who weren't members of the reserve team and had been transferred to management positions had registered. The inhuman level was neither high nor low. It wasn't as eye-catching as the physical invulnerability experts, nor was it as down-to-earth as the body-forging and low-level dance stage experts. It had always been stuck in the middle and didn't have specialized competitions. Currently, the inhuman level competition with the highest standard was the preliminary rounds of the 5 major title battles. The rising stars of the various top forces and almost all the inhuman mighty ones from other sects would participate. It was just that each of them had their own focus. Currently, the Battle of the Kings and Battle of Warrior Sage were not to be missed. Once one could make it through the preliminary rounds of these 2 competitions, one would be able to declare himself as one of the few strongest below physical invulnerability. After Amen finished registering, she smiled like a flower and said, "This time, there are 16 slots for the Battle of the Kings preliminaries. I wish all of you the best of luck in advancing to the main competition and getting the chance to spar with physical invulnerability experts. Phew, there's always someone better than you. Not to mention those of the same age, those seniors who had been immersed in the inhuman stage for a few years or more than 10 years wouldn't be easy to deal with." Lu Qing thought for a moment and threw this matter to the back of his mind. After all, there was still more than a month to go. After packing up and making some adjustments, he got into the commercial car with a smile on his face and left the club. The most important thing today was to go to the airport to pick up Cuckoo, his wife. Chapter 554. July 17th, Friday, Huaqing, Heishui Airport. Lu Qing sent the driver away and waited patiently. He also teamed up with Little Ming to play a few rounds of games. When the software informed Yan Zhike that her flight was about to land, he quickly announced that this was the last round and gave away his life absent-mindedly. After a while, the girl turned on her phone and sent a message to confirm that she had landed. "I've been waiting for a long time." "Hands on hips expression," replied Lu Qing. "You're flying to Kingstown, so am I," Yenjika said, chin up, rolling eyes expression. "Just now a boy saw that my luggage was very heavy and wanted to help me carry it. Then he realized that I could do it with one hand." His expression was quite interesting. Good-looking people can really feel the kindness of the world at any time. Lu Qing flattered without leaving a trace. While chatting on and off, his eyes suddenly lit up. He saw Yenjika carrying a small black backpack and dragging an orange suitcase. She walked out and entered the arrival hall. The girl's black hair fell down, slanted bangs, pure and beautiful. She wore a simple white t-shirt and dark denim shorts that only reached half of her thighs. She wore a pair of clip-on sandals, revealing her slender white legs and pink and healthy toes. She looked fresh and youthful. Lu Qing walked up to her, smiled at her and took the suitcase. "You need to be qualified to carry my cousin's luggage." He continued the previous topic. "Of course." Yenjika smiled and raised her chin slightly. Lu Qing stopped and stared at her. He suddenly laughed. "I thought you would dress like a fairy, but you're dressed like a girl next door." Yenjika's eyes narrowed. "I'm just afraid that someone can't control himself and let his animal instincts take over. Every time I dress up, someone's eyes are not right. It's like a person who has been hungry for a long time seeing a big meal. Aren't you on your period today? How can I let my animal instincts take over? Lu Qing felt wronged. Yenjika puffed up her cheeks, widened her eyes and pretended to be angry. That's why I'm afraid. She was afraid that someone would ask for help in other ways. She thought that after not seeing him for a month, her heart would soften and she would be influenced by him even more. She blushed and didn't finish her sentence. She immediately changed the topic and asked seriously, "Where are we going now? When was I not following the rules and only showing my love during your time?" Lu Qing pretended to be wronged. Yes. You deserve to be praised. Keep up the good work." Yenjika had only said that in a hurry. She immediately pursed her lips and reached out to touch her husband's head. "Do you think I'm a child?" He pulled the girl's wrist and gestured with his chin at the location he had already scouted. "Let's rent a car first. It'll be much more convenient for us to go on dates and buy groceries." He didn't have a driver's license, and he had the club to arrange things for him. Ko could only come to America during the winter and summer holidays. If he bought a car directly, he could only eat dust most of the time. It was better to wait until he had booked a house and moved in before he considered it. During this period, he would rent a car to deal with it. "Okay." Yenjika nodded lightly and walked a few steps before asking in confusion, "Cheng, you got your driver's license? Based on a certain someone's personality, shouldn't he have come to show off a long time ago?" "No." Lu Qing chuckled. "I can only rely on you." Although he could drive by himself, without a driver's license, it was best not to break the law. Yenjika opened her pink mouth, feeling both amused and annoyed. She waved her arms and said, "Okay, I'll drive you." Sigh, as the head of the family, you have so much to worry about and so much responsibility. That's what a head of the family should be like. Lu Qing smiled and flattered Cuckoo. When they arrived at the car rental office, the two went through the formalities and paid part of the fee. They picked an Audi TT that Cuckoo was comfortable with. After seeing the staff leave, Lu Qing signaled Yenjika to wait for a while. Then he opened the car door on both sides and took a deep breath. His abdomen bulged like a ball. He activated the ice spirit force, opened his mouth and sunk his chest and abdomen, exhaling the air he had just inhaled. Whoosh! Suddenly, a strong wind blew in the car and the chill rushed. The accumulated heat of the summer dissipated instantly. It was many times more effective than the air conditioner. Whoosh! 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 Lu Qing did it several times in a row, and the seats and the center console were all back to normal. Yenjika was dumbfounded, staring blankly at the side. What kind of operation is this? Lu Qing stopped and straightened his back. He gestured for her to get in and said with a smile, a friendly reminder. If the car is not parked in a shady place in the summer and has been gone for a long time, you need to cool down and ensure ventilation. Yenjika was stunned for a few seconds. She was not stingy with her praise and shouted in a slightly exaggerated manner, "Brother Qing is awesome. No wonder he is a walking multifunctional home appliance." After getting in the car, she adjusted the distance and height of the seats and closed the doors and windows. When Yenjika was about to adjust the rearview mirror, Lu Qing suddenly leaned over and said with a smile, "Let me help you adjust it." "Ah." The girl was confused and opened her mouth slightly. She did not understand what he meant. Didn't he know that it could be adjusted electrically? Looking at the cute and beautiful face of his little fairy, Lu Qing kissed her without hesitation. He held her sweet lips in his mouth and explored deeply, dancing with the little fairy. "I'm flirting with you, do you understand?" Yenjika unconsciously raised her arms and hugged Lu Qing. Her eyes were half closed, and the light in her eyes leaked slightly. After a while, she pushed the pervert away. Just as she was about to scold him, she heard him whisper in her ear, "Long time no see." Her heart softened. She muttered, "Don't we talk every day?" "I miss you too." Their eyes met. After a moment of tenderness, Yenjika suddenly laughed and said, "This is your failed flirting with Marshal Nisimo last time, right? You actually used it on me. No one else." Lu Qing answered proudly. She pursed her lips and smiled. She cleared her throat and said, "Where are we going now? Home first or dinner first? Look at you. If your stomach doesn't hurt anymore, we'll go to the Lin's restaurant in the university town to eat white-cut chicken and roast goose. The restaurant that Fatty Jiang brought me to before. If you still feel uncomfortable, we'll go home first. I made some fish soup last night and put it in the fridge. I'll heat it up later and cook some noodles. It'll definitely taste good. I also bought a huge portion of old green preserved egg and lean meat porridge. It's the one that you liked the most when we came to watch the competition last time. I just need to cover it with Emperor Yen force and it can be eaten." Yenjika turned her head and looked straight ahead. She pursed her lips for more than 10 seconds. She couldn't help but smile. She asked in a sweet voice, "What if I want to eat all of them?" "Then we'll eat all of them. Lin's restaurant first, then home." Lu Qing made a decision. "Let's go." Yenjika dragged her last word and started the car briskly. After filling their stomachs, the two returned to Sky Capital Garden. They found a spot and parked the car. "I'm so tired. I took a plane, had my period, and drove for so long." Yenjika locked the car door with a beep. She looked at Lu Qing and massaged his shoulders as she spoke. She looked exactly like him. Yenjika is getting better at acting coquettishly. Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat. Without another word, he walked to the opposite side and squatted down. "Come, I'll carry you. I just want you to give me a massage later." Yenjika was stunned at first. Then she laughed out loud. "There are other people in the neighborhood, and your teammates too. How embarrassing. It's very quiet here at night. Besides, our house is just around the corner." Lu Qing enticed her. Okay. Yenjika's eyes were sparkling. Her tone was a little hesitant, but her movements were without delay. With his arms supporting his knees, Lu Qing stood up steadily and carried his wife on his back. Under the illumination of the bright moon and lights, they passed through the quiet atrium and the peaceful night and successfully arrived downstairs. It was said that there was only one apartment on each floor. In fact, there were 2 elevators in each unit to prevent malfunction. Unfortunately, tonight, both elevators were broken. The staff was rushing to repair them. Lu Qing didn't say anything. He stopped Yenjika from coming down and turned into the safety passageway. Along the stairs, step by step, he climbed higher and higher. 2 slender legs swayed gently beside him. Little Fairy was humming a faint melody in his ears. Europe, John Wilberg. Princess Irina, who had just finished her 2-country visit, entered the study and saw her tutor sitting on a recliner. He was basking in the sun with his eyes closed. Swaying back and forth, he looked like he was in a deep sleep. "Goo, this is not in line with etiquette." Irina laughed softly. The man on the recliner opened his eyes, which seemed to hide the starry night sky. His hair was mixed with a lot of silver strands, which made him look both old and young. His facial features and skin color indicated that he was Chinese or Chinese. "I'm going out for a trip recently." The man smiled. Irina's eyes darkened. She pretended not to care and asked, "Going to China?" "Yes. I'm going to see that heavenly son of China. Just for a while." Gu Danran answered calmly. He flicked the quaint robe he was wearing. Irina didn't recognize this kind of clothes with a strong oriental flavor before. Later, she found out through the internet that it was called Yue. The Chinese words that were often paired with it were Yue and Xingguan. P.S. Third update for you. Yesterday's update has been made up. Looking for recommendation tickets on Monday. Chapter 555. After sharing the fish noodle soup and congee with pork and century egg, Lu Qing and Yenjika sat on the sofa in satisfaction. They leaned against each other and chatted casually, as if anything was fun. The TV in front of them was flashing and changing images, but no one was paying attention to what was on. I always feel like I'm forgetting something. Yenjika frowned and thought hard as she chatted. Lu Qing tried to recall, but suddenly he was stunned and blurted out, "Your suitcase." "My suitcase." At the same time, Yenjika also realized what she had forgotten. "I was too focused on carrying you," Lu Qing explained in a low voice, his mouth twitching. Ku's suitcase was still in the car. Romantic feelings were stirred at that time, but then the elevator broke down and he completely forgot about it. "Forgot, hurry up and get it," Yenjika said with a complicated expression. "Okay." Lu Qing immediately got up and walked out of the door. Watching him leave, Yenjika lay down, hugged a pillow, and buried her face in it. She scolded with a smile, "Two idiots. My wit and intelligence are often not seen when I'm with Qing. No, it must be because of the severe loss of blood and lack of blood supply to the brain, causing my memory to blur. That must be it." When Lu Qing came back with their luggage, they washed up, changed into their pajamas, and lied on the bed. They laughed about it for a long time, making perfect self-deprecations. The bed was big, and they were close. Yenjika put her cold hands and feet on Lu Cheng's body and said hurriedly, "Ever since I started practicing the swordsman formula, I realized that the duration of my period is getting shorter and shorter. After mastering the wholeness formula, I feel better and better. I don't feel tired even if I stay up all night to rush reports or wake up the next morning for morning exercises." That's right. This is their greatest contribution. Lu Qing praised the 9 words formula delightedly. Yenjika looked up and said thoughtfully, "Qing, do you think that the 9 words formula will have some hidden effect when they're all combined? Usually, when put together, there will be additional variations. Furthermore, for similar mystic arts, the first word or the last word is usually the most unique. For example, the 6 syllables of Sanskrit mantra starts with the word Wang. It contains the will of Buddha and opens up the following 5 notes. It is said that it has the ability to seal and suppress. The attainment formula doesn't seem to be strange at the moment, but could the confrontation formula be more special? If there is a hidden effect, I hope that it's the kind that can make up for the loss." Lu Qing thought. "From the 6 words I have mastered, the confrontation formula, and the military said. There." Yenjika was a little sleepy, so she covered her mouth and yawned cutely. But this was the first time they met after a month, so she couldn't bear to sleep. So she found a few topics to chat with Lu Qing. It was quiet outside, but the sound in the room was soft. It was peaceful and warm. Isn't that Princess Irina sexy?" Lu Qing had shared with his little fairy about how Irina had said, "Smells good," out of nowhere. Of course, he didn't mention Jiao Lu's classic translation. He only brought it up as a topic full of doubts. Yenjika didn't feel that Irina was openly flirting with her husband. After all, Jiao Lu was beside them. As a member of the royal family, no matter how open she was, she had to consider her reputation. She couldn't be so direct. Using a sparring match as an excuse was more suitable. As for why she was acting strangely, she couldn't find a reasonable answer even after thinking for a long time. Lu Qing was relieved to hear Yenjika's question. Otherwise, he would be breaking out in cold sweat. He pondered for a few seconds before answering firmly, I don't think so. Which part of her is sexy? Your answer is so fake and exaggerated. Yenjike glanced at Lu Qing and snorted. Many people on Weibo are saying that Princess Irina is sexy. Below those news articles. Lu Qing said casually, everyone has their own opinions. Anyway, I don't think so. I've seen films before and thought they were too big and out of shape. Oh. Yenjika pursed her lips. So you like flat breasts? I like the right size. For example. Lu Qing chuckled. Before he could finish, he was punched hard by his little fairy and couldn't continue. Yenjika's eyes narrowed. She propped herself up on her elbows and moved closer to Lu Chang's head. Her nose twitched, and she sniffed from top to bottom. Which part of your smell is good? Why can't I feel it? The sweet fragrance assailed his nostrils. Her breath tickled his heart. Her delicate body pressed against him and rubbed against him. Lu Chang's heart rippled. Desire rose rapidly and he couldn't control himself anymore. You pervert. The girl felt a familiar resistance. She was stunned at first. Then she rolled her eyes and scolded him with blushing cheeks. So it's my fault. Lu Qing smiled embarrassedly. It's all because my little fairy is too charming. He condensed water into ice and turned the lake into a mirror. Looking down from above, he restrained his desire and controlled the subtle flow of his qi and blood. The tent collapsed instantly. Yenjika was stunned for a moment. She sighed blankly. How magical! Ever since he entered the realm of all-seeing God, Qing had developed a lot of strange abilities. After such an interruption, she forgot about the smell. After chatting for a while, they kissed deeply and said goodnight to each other. The night passed peacefully until dawn. The next morning, after the couple finished their training, they drove to Longhu Club. Why don't I go? The closer they got, the more shy Yenjika felt. They were all strangers. She felt embarrassed. What are you afraid of? We are legally married. Haven't you always wanted to eat breakfast at our restaurant and visit the club's exhibition room? Lu Qing smiled and said enchantingly. Yenjika bit her lower lip lightly. She decided to hide her face in her pocket. Well, actually I want to go to the places you've been to and experience the life you've lived. When they arrived at the club and parked the car, Lu Qing saw Alman and Huang Bin approaching before they could enter. I mentioned her yesterday. She's my wife. Lu Qing introduced Yenjika frankly. He had called the assistant team and told them that he would be bringing his family to visit the club today. He also asked the kitchen to prepare more dishes. Your girlfriend is so pretty. Alman complimented sincerely. Wife, it's my wife. Lu Qing emphasized in his heart. While casually exchanging pleasantries, he pulled Yenjika, who had suddenly become gentle and graceful, into the club and into the restaurant under the escort of Alman and Huang Bin. As the two of them were whispering sweet nothings, they left home late. There was no one in the restaurant for breakfast, giving them a quiet date. After filling their stomachs, they went to the exhibition room on the third floor. It was very spacious, with all kinds of trophies on display. There was also a room dedicated to broadcasting Longhu Club's glorious moments and classic battles. I feel like I can watch this for many days. Yenjika sighed. She turned to Lu Qing and said, You go ahead and practice. I'll be fine here. Seeing Lu Qing hesitate, Alman stood up immediately. Mr. Lu, don't worry. I'm free today. I'll keep Miss Yen company. I won't let her be unfamiliar with this place. Everything else could be pushed aside. Thank you. Lu Qing was relieved. He smiled sincerely and nodded. His impression of Alman improved instantly. This girl is very reliable. I'm going to the training room. Let's talk on QQ. Lu Qing raised his phone to Yan Jike and got a sweet smile in response. Huang Bin, who was watching from the side, felt bitter. He wanted to compete with Lu Qing, but he didn't dare. A grown man trying to curry favor with Lu Cheng's girlfriend. No matter how sincere he was, it would make Lu Qing feel uncomfortable. It would be counterproductive. Sigh, this society is unfair to men and women, but sometimes it's more convenient for girls to do things. Amen didn't notice Huang Bin's expression. Her mind was filled with Lu Cheng's sincere thanks. This is unprecedented. She suddenly felt that she had found the pulse of this heavenly son of the era. He's probably a henpecked husband. Pleasing his girlfriend is more effective than pleasing him. They focused on practicing martial arts and chatted occasionally. Once it was noon, Lu Qing immediately left the training room. He went to the exhibition room to watch classic battles with his little fairy for half an hour before heading to the dining hall again. At this time, Tu Zheng, Jia Lu, and the rest were still eating halfway and hadn't left yet. This is my wife, Yan Jike. Lu Qing smiled and introduced her to everyone. This is the captain of our reserve team, Tu Zheng and Team Tuesday. This is Yu Wang Yuan, a perfect match. Tu Zheng and the rest praised with a smile. She's also very talented. Lu Qing complimented. He didn't exchange more pleasantries with them and pulled Yan Jike to choose the food. When the table was filled with food, Yan Jike looked left and right. She lowered her voice and laughed. It feels like I'm here to declare my sovereignty. Yeah, do you want a stamp? Lu Qing raised his arm and said humorously. Just a stamp that says only for little fairy. Yan Jike looked up and said jokingly, I want to cover my face so that everyone can see it at a glance. Come. Lu Qing laughed and pointed to his mouth. In return, he got a flirtatious look. Just like that, the two of them settled down in watching. They went on dates during the weekends. Usually, one would focus on practicing martial arts and rest early while the other would visit, study, discuss, or interact. It was a sweet and warm life. When the girls' period was over, Lu Qing almost tasted the feeling of not attending morning court. Fortunately, he persevered with great perseverance. In the blink of an eye, August came. Longhu Club would begin its 2-week away trip. Yan Jike would have to return to Shushan in the middle of the month to spend some time with Father Yan and Empress Dowager. She would come back for another 2 or 3 days before flying to Connecticut. She would depart from watching. August 5th. The night was dark and the sea was dark. A ship sailed over the international waters and stopped at the border. All right, you can go back now. A man wearing a simple feathered coat said to the ship owner. His black hair was mixed with silver strands, but he looked very young. Ah. The ship owner looked left and right but didn't see anyone coming to help. At this moment, his heart skipped a beat. He turned around and saw that the strangely dressed man was nowhere to be seen. Splash. The sea crashed onto the shore and rolled up waves. A figure walked out of the water. His hair was wet and his clothes were sticking to him. Stepping onto the beach, the man walked while ice flakes fell. In the end, white steam rose around him and he was as dry as before. P.S. Looking for recommendation tickets on Monday. Chapter 556. August 9th, Sunday, 8:00 p.m. A taxi turned the corner and headed for Sky Capital Garden. Lu Qing sat on the right and looked out of the window. He suggested to Yan Jike, why don't we let the driver drive us there and buy some fruits before we go home? Ku had always been full of praise for the fruits in watching. No, there's more in the fridge. She made a gesture to relax her neck. I'm so tired from the flight. The Longhu Club's competition this week was to go north to Jinfeng City and challenge the Guanwai League. They had almost crossed the entire country. Lu Qing and Yan Zhike set off on Thursday, August 6th. They went to see Xing Jingjing and watched the battle. It was a short trip, so it was inevitable that they were tired from the long journey. Yeah, you're right. Even my waist and back are a little sore. Lu Qing tried to agree but was stopped by the girl's expression. He quickly changed the topic and said with an embarrassed smile, "It's a pity that we're not going to Jinfeng in winter." Yeah. I want to buy a popsicle on their central street. It must be very interesting. Yenjika said excitedly. Also, there are holes in the ice to catch fish, downhill skiing, and, she listed her unfulfilled wishes one by one, as if she was making a list. Yeah, we'll go again next time. Lu Qing recalled the delicious food. I think their stewed fish is just a so-so. Maybe it's because I didn't eat good food. But the Korean food is pretty good. Yeah, we didn't have the chance to eat the barbecue skewers this time. I wonder what's the difference between the barbecue skewers in Shushan, Songqing, and Huadu. Yenjika rolled her eyes and suddenly felt a little hungry. At this time, the taxi stopped at the main entrance of Sky Capital Garden. Lu Qing paid with his mobile phone and got off first. He took his backpack and his wife's luggage so that they wouldn't forget. Hand in hand, they walked slowly. After a few steps, they suddenly saw a shadow coming out from the side of the road and going to the opposite side of the road. Lu Qing looked and found a man in a short-sleeved polo shirt. He looked very young, but his black hair was mixed with a lot of silver, so it was hard to tell his age. The man looked straight ahead, as if he was waiting for something, but it didn't happen, so he planned to leave. When they brushed past each other, Lu Qing felt a slight change in the gene dan in his lower abdomen. However, when he formed the ice mirror and examined it carefully, he didn't discover anything. It seemed to be just an illusion. What's wrong? Yenjike sensed something and turned her head in confusion. Nothing. Lu Qing shook his head and answered. In the end, the gene dan was only an external object and did not belong to him. He hoped that he could gather the 9 words formula as soon as possible and figure out its mysteries so that he would not be taken advantage of in the future. From the corner of his eyes, he saw that the man just now had waved his hand and stopped a passing taxi. He got into the taxi and left the place without doing anything strange. After the confusion dissipated, Lu Qing threw this matter to the back of his mind and returned home with his wife. The two searched for ingredients in the fridge and helped each other to make 2 bowls of noodles for supper. If I eat like you every day, I'll get fat sooner or later. Yenjika looked at the 2 empty bowls with grievance. Well, a certain someone's basin, you can watch me eat. Lu Qing snickered. Great, you bully me. You only let me watch and not let me eat. Yenjika's eyes sparkled and she smiled. Lu Qing didn't dare to continue this topic. He sighed and said, Sigh, you're going back to Shushan tomorrow. Half a month had passed so quickly. Yenjika bit her lower lip and pretended to be energetic. So, tonight, we'll watch the stars and the moon and talk about poetry and life philosophy. This line sounds familiar. Lu Qing thought carefully and finally understood. He was amused. Laughter washed away the sadness of separation. However, in the middle of the night, the couple really did cuddle up and look at the bright moon outside the window. The lights in the room were off. It was cold outside, and the light shone into the room, dyeing the dark country into a dreamy dream. Yenjika curled up in Lu Cheng's arms and pressed her skin against his, refusing to sleep. After I graduate, I want to do something big. I want to expand my mom's company to Huadu. As she spoke, she laughed to herself. But I don't like to socialize. I guess I can only be a consultant. I can't let my brother Qing eat alone all the time. Or I can apply for a job at a university in Huadu and take the path of a scholar to study economic issues. Seeing Yenjika talking about the future, Lu Qing said with a look of longing, I've pretty much mastered the dance stage chapter of the fire sect. I'm good at some, but I'm only at the beginner level. After the training in the Battle of the Kings preliminaries, I should be a genuine senior fourth pin expert. Next February, before my birthday, I'll strive to reach the level close to physical invulnerability. Yes, with the realm of encountering gods in the void, self-reflection, this shouldn't be too much of an obstacle. Think about it. Ice mirror can reflect a certain area around itself with precision down to the millimeter. Isn't it a little similar to the most basic thing in heavenly connection? When the time comes, I'll give myself 3 years to break through to physical invulnerability. I can't stay too long, or I'll lose my drive and drive. I can't stay too short either. Once I get impatient and anxious, things will get troublesome. I feel like the gap between us is getting bigger. Yenjika didn't hide her sigh and worry, seeking her husband's comfort. How can that be? You'll always be the head of the family. Lu Qing answered without hesitation. Wait until I find a way to help you make up for your congenital deficiency. You'll definitely have no problem reaching the dance stage. It's hard to say if you're not human, but you'll definitely awaken supernatural abilities. Then you won't have to worry about it. You promise? Yenjika was just worried for a moment, but she quickly adjusted. She had always been a girl with super confidence. Then let's pinky swear. You're so childish. Come on, don't be angry. I like you like this the most. Her words echoed. It was a peaceful night. The same night, the same moon. In a rented house in the middle of Huadu City. A man with black hair mixed with silver strands sat in front of the window. His expression was still a little excited. Although it wasn't the same kind as he had expected, he had discovered something that even he couldn't believe. This trip wasn't in vain. No, it wasn't just in vain. Whether he was a dragon or a snake in the future would depend on this encounter. He turned on his newly bought second-hand computer and seriously studied Lu Cheng's recent battle videos. He also glanced in the direction of the Longhu Club and estimated the situation in various aspects. I have to find a good time. The next day, Lu Cheng woke up early. However, he was tempted by his little fairy and didn't go for his morning exercise, which was rare. When Yenjika's flight took off, he made up for his training and punctually attended the tutorial class for physical invulnerability mighty ones in the afternoon. In the blink of an eye, it was Friday again. However, the training session for the reserve team was cancelled. This was because the next week was the preliminaries for the Battle of the Kings. They had to depart on Sunday. Everyone had to adjust their physical and mental states in advance to deal with this. On the afternoon of August 16th, on the high-speed train to Linfu, Lu Qing sat by the window and chatted with Yenjika about the title battle on his phone. In his free time, he found Priest and sent him a message, "Do you have a date?" After sending it, he suddenly felt that something was amiss. He quickly added, "A date for the Battle of the Kings." More than 10 seconds later, Peng Liyun sent an emoji wiping cold sweat. "I thought your account was hacked." Without waiting for a reply, he quickly added, "I'm also in the realm of encountering gods in the void. Let me give you a reminder so that you won't be careless. If you want to win, you have to win against an opponent in the best condition, right? This guy's improvement is fast." Lu Qing secretly praised. Laughing out loud expression, he replied, "I think so too." Priest actually dared to reveal his strength now. Has he developed his wave after wave divine skill before the competition? Peng Liyun didn't continue on this topic. He changed the topic and said, "Renli is confirmed to be participating. Daxing Temple has also sent a few outstanding mighty ones. The same goes for the other sects and families. Don't underestimate them." Speaking of which, I haven't really fought with a direct disciple of Daxing Temple. This is a good opportunity to experience it. Hands on hips expression, Lu Qing said excitedly. I say, Lu Qing, can you not send me childish emojis when you're talking to me online? Every time I see you send such emojis, I'm thinking how sad it is to be defeated by such an opponent. Peng Liyun sent an emoji covering his face and sighing. He didn't delete all the words. Damn, Daoist, you have such a venomous tongue. Also, what does that tu mean? Explain. Before Lu Qing could type, a message from Renli suddenly came in. Lu Qing, I think we've only fought once. And it's a draw. Let's determine the winner this time. Sure. Lu Qing agreed without hesitation. At this moment, he thought of An Chaoyang and wondered if he should ask Hipster if he would be participating in the preliminaries of Battle of the Kings. This guy had said a while ago that he was about to break through. Did he? Before Lu Qing could ask An Chaoyang, Hipster had already sent him a message. I'm in Linfu. Want to meet for dinner tonight? Sure. Lu Qing sent an emoji of, there's only one truth. You've broken through. Yeah, I've finally reached the inhuman stage. I've also stabilized my foundation. And Chaoyang replied, half happy and half sad. Congrats, congrats. Lu Qing glanced at Tu Jing and the rest at the side and lowered his head again. He found a name but didn't dare to ask. This name was brother-in-law. Ku said that he hadn't broken through in June. If he were to ask if he would be participating in the Battle of the Kings, it would definitely be a blow to him. Forget it, there's still a chance in the future. Lu Qing was in a slightly complicated mood when the high-speed train stopped at Linfu Station. This was a city famous for the Battle of the Kings. Chapter 557. The sea breeze passed through the crowded city, leaving no unique smell behind. The tourists coming and going spoke Mandarin with various accents, and most of them looked excited. To them, it was not only to watch the competition, but also to take the opportunity to have a vacation. It had to be said that the timing of the Battle of the Kings preliminaries was quite good. During the summer holidays, the students were free, and their parents would take time to accompany them. It complemented well with the Battle of the Warrior Sage preliminaries before the end of the year. When the Longhu Club arrived at the Wanhua Hotel where they were staying, the lobby was already filled with welcoming crowds. Some were youthful, some were full of youthful energy, some were full of vigor, some were over the age of 30, some were mature with joy, and some were just reporters. Lu Qing, what is your goal for this Battle of the Kings? Do you have the confidence to get a spot in the main competition? Who are you looking forward to the most? Peng Liyun, Renli, or the warrior monk from Daxing Temple? Hello, Tu Zhang. I heard you won against Lu Qing in the sparring session. Will you make use of this Battle of the Kings to make a breakthrough? Meng Liang from Shizhou Island, who defeated you last time, has also registered. Do you have anything to say? The most popular and newsworthy ones were undoubtedly Lu Qing, the heavenly son of China, and Tu Jing, who was expected to reach physical invulnerability within 2 years. This made Wang Yuan, Lu Xiaofei, and the others, who only had a few reporters following them, feel disappointed. What made them sigh even more was that the few reporters only interviewed them because they couldn't squeeze in beside Lu Qing and Tu Jing. With comparison, there was motivation. They secretly clenched their fists, their eyes burning with passion. All right, everyone, please make way. If you have any questions, we will arrange for a special interview time. The deputy director of the foreign affairs team and the leader of this Battle of the Kings, Xiang Tong, slightly unleashed his aura and opened up a path. The hotel's security also formed a human wall, isolating the outside from the outside. Lu Qing remembered Coach Yan's guidance. At times like this, all he had to do was smile. Occasionally, when he saw fans stretching their arms, he would happily take the pen and paper, sign his name, and hand it back. In exchange, he would be greeted with screams of Lu Qing. After trekking for a while, they finally entered the elevator and arrived at the 33rd floor. It was quiet all around. This is an individual competition, so there are no hard and fast rules. There are only 2 reminders. Leader Xiang Tong clapped his hands and said with a smile, "First, don't miss the competition. Second, try not to cause any trouble." "Okay." Everyone answered casually. Then, they took their room cards and went to look for their rooms. Lu Qing told the team leader in private that he would not be joining them for dinner because he had an appointment with his friend. "No problem, as long as it doesn't affect your condition." Xiang Tong smiled ambiguously and nodded. "What kind of thinking is this?" Lu Qing emphasized, "Male friends." "Oh." Xiang Tong's eyes suddenly became strange. He took a step back and then laughed, "I'm just kidding." "Psycho." Lu Cheng's mouth twitched as he cursed in his heart. He was deeply concerned about the leader's brain. After entering the room, Lu Qing put away his luggage and tidied up. He waited for a while until the sky turned dark. Then he put on his black-rimmed glasses, changed his clothes, and slipped out of the hotel. He walked on the hot road. After leaving the Wanhua Hotel, he stopped the taxi and went to Guanqiao Street. The street was full of seafood stalls. It was crowded and bustling. In front of the well-decorated Lingfu Century Grilled Fish restaurant, and Chao Yang, who still had his artistic hair, was wearing headphones. His hands were in his pockets and his eyes were half closed. He looked peaceful as if he was sleeping. "I've made a reservation." He smiled and greeted Lu Qing. Lu Cheng's nose twitched as he tried to distinguish the smell in the air. "It smells good. A local friend recommended it. It can't be wrong." And Chao Yang smiled and turned to enter the restaurant. "A local friend," Lu Qing casually repeated. And Chao Yang looked as if he would fall asleep at any moment. "I met him on a travel forum. He likes music." "Sounds complicated." Lu Qing pulled out a chair and sat down. He looked around and said, "Should we order the fish first or wait for Priest and Renli?" "Let's order first. We eat a lot, so we need to prepare." And Chao Yang thought for a while and asked, "How long before they arrive? Aren't you the one contacting them?" Lu Qing asked blankly. "I thought you would contact them." And Chao Yang stared at him. "Shouldn't it be the person who is supposed to treat?" After a short pause, Lu Qing tried to shift the blame. "When we were in Xinjiang, you were the one who was more active and contacted everyone." And Chao Yang analyzed his thoughts. There was another moment of silence. Lu Qing sighed and picked up his phone. "Should I ask them out now?" "Forget it. It's almost dinner time. They're either not here yet or have already eaten. Let's meet again in a few days." And Chao Yang laughed at himself and got up to order the fish. When he came back, he sat back down and took off his headphones. He put them aside and put them on. He put on a serious expression as he ate and chatted with Lu Qing. "Hipster, this is the highest respect you can give your friends, right?" Lu Qing joked. Even though he didn't listen in the past, he would still hang his headphones around his neck. "Are you praising me or mocking me?" And Chao Yang laughed. "How is it? Have you mastered the dance stage chapter of the Fire sect?" "I've already mastered what I need to," Lu Qing answered concisely. He then asked, "What are your plans this time? Are you going to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat? Don't make fun of me." And Chao Yang laughed and shook his head. "I just broke through not long ago and have just stabilized. I'm just here to see the world and train myself." I don't have any extravagant hopes. You, on the other hand, haven't you thought about getting a spot in the main competition? I'd be lying if I said I didn't, Lu Qing answered honestly. Then you'll have a lot of competition. This time, all the strongest reserves and seniors of the top forces are here. Many of them are on par with Tu Jing or even stronger. For example, Fa Jin and Ji Ren from Daxing Temple, Ming Shi from Shangqing Sect, Go Wen from Xuanwu Sect, Qing Feng from Shushan Study, Wang Xian from Yanzhou League, Xing Shiduo from Guanwai League, Meng Liang from Shizhou Island. And Chaoyang said as he pondered. Fa Zhen is here too. He's from my grandfather's generation. Lu Qing was shocked. Fa Zhen was the junior brother of Daxing Temple's abbot Fa Yuan and the martial uncle of Wisdom King Ji Hai. He was 51 years old this year and belonged to Geezer Shi's generation of inhuman mighty ones. He had been a reserve physical invulnerability expert for more than 20 years. Unfortunately, he hadn't been able to break through. Although it was hopeless now, he had been at the peak of inhuman for so many years and his body hadn't deteriorated. He was definitely an expert not to be underestimated. But didn't this old man, no, the eminent monk, cultivate his mind and spirit and meditate on Ryukong? Why did he come here to register for the Battle of the King's preliminaries? As for Ji Ren, he was the senior brother of Wisdom King Ji Hai and living Buddha Shi Shan. He was 29 years old and had a chance of attaining physical invulnerability. Living Buddha was different from the orthodox lineage of Daxing Temple and had a different title. As for Ming Shi, Go Wen, and the rest, although they weren't heavenly sons of the era, they were reserve physical invulnerability experts of various big forces. Go Wen was the strongest expert of Xuanwu Sect, the former warrior sage and grandmaster, Long Dam that protects the sea, Ma Xinghong, believed that she would break through in the coming year. Hearing Lu Cheng's surprise, and Chaoyang smiled and said, Senior Fa Zhen has always had a regret. He has never entered the Battle of the King's main competition. Therefore, he is here to fulfill his wish. He's bullying the younger generation. Lu Qing joked. Including the second and third Inhumans, the police force, martial arts school, and the mighty ones who have transitioned into different professions, the number of people who have registered for this preliminaries is probably more than 400. And Chaoyang sipped his tea and discussed the Battle of the Kings with Lu Qing. Of course, this didn't equate to all the Inhumans. They had a great time talking about this topic that everyone was interested in. The grilled fish was delicious too. It was fragrant and made people want to eat more. After the fun, Lu Qing returned to the hotel and video called Yan Jike to talk about the mighty ones he had just mentioned. The next evening, the registration closed. 2 hours later, the organizer announced the matchups for the first round. The competition this time would be held in 4 venues at the same time. There would be battles in the morning, afternoon, and night. The first round would last for 2 days. It would be a single elimination round. After that, it would be the same. When there were 64 people left, the double elimination round would begin. The remaining 16 people would enter the main competition. Lu Qing browsed the web, looking for his name. He saw Ping Liyun, Renli, Go Wen, Fa Zhen, and the others. He realized that their opponents weren't popular. Finally, he saw himself. Morning of the 19th, Guanhai Martial Arts Stadium, 6th round, Longhu Club, Lu Cheng. On the other side of the dash was Shizhou Island, Lin Yu. Cheng, this is a famous senior. Beep. Yan Jike sent a message. Lu Qing copied the name and typed it into the search box. Soon, he got the information of his opponent. Lin Yu, 42 years old. He had been at the inhuman stage for 16 years. His immortal flesh was terrifyingly strong. He had been at the high pin level for a total of 16 years. I just want to enter the second round uneventfully. Lu Qing replied to Ko with an emoji of covering its face and sighing. In a small hotel in Linfu, a man with black hair mixed with silver strands looked at the computer screen and shook his head slightly. On the morning of the 19th, a reporter stopped Lin Yu outside the Guanhai Martial Arts Stadium. He asked the successful Mighty One, "What are your thoughts on picking Lu Qing?" Lin Yu smiled and said, "Beat him while I still have the chance." Chapter 558. After answering, Lin Yu didn't stay any longer. He took large strides and entered the Guanhai Martial Arts Stadium. The reporter didn't dare to pester him as he was afraid that he would be accused of harassing a martial artist before the match and affect his condition. Just as he was about to take a short break and drink some water, he suddenly saw a car stop at the side door. Tu Zheng, Lu Xiaofei, and Lu Qing alighted. The 10 inhuman mighty ones from the Longhu Club were arranged at 3 different venues. Joy and excitement surged in his heart. He hurried over and blocked Lu Cheng's way before he could enter the room. "Huff, huff, I only have 2 questions," he panted half realistically and half pretentiously to show that his job wasn't easy. The few security guards at the side looked at Lu Qing and waited for his reply. If he wasn't willing, they would immediately take action and separate the reporter. Lu Qing was relatively calm. Seeing that there was no one around and that he wouldn't be surrounded, he nodded gently and said, "All right." The reporter immediately blurted out, "Do you have the confidence to stand out among the mighty ones like Go Wen, Fa Jin, Ji Ren, Meng Liang, and Tu Jing? What are your chances of defeating them?" "That's 2 questions," reminded Lu Qing with a smile. He then shook his head and said, "But I don't want to answer." "Ah." The reporter was stunned for a moment. "Not asking me about the upcoming match and instead mentioning other martial artists, this is disrespectful to Senior Lin Yu," said Lu Qing seriously. The reporter nodded thoughtfully. "Then what are your thoughts on the upcoming battle?" "I'll work hard to win," answered Lu Qing firmly. Seeing that Tu Zheng and Lu Xiaofei had already entered the side door and were waiting for him in front, he waved his hand. Without waiting for the reporter to speak, he followed them in a flash. "There's still one more question," shouted the reporter, his voice trailing off. "Should I use the headline, 'Lu Qing goes back on his words,' or 'A heavenly son of the era doesn't know how to count,' to attract more attention?" He mischievously thought about how funny it would be. Back to the topic. With the interview just now, I can already create a headline news. Every inhuman was an expert with status and position. Linfu, which was famous for hosting the Battle of the Kings, naturally had a special design for the martial arts stadium. A few of the changing rooms were no longer so spacious that they could accommodate 10 to 20 people at the same time. Instead, they were partitioned into small resting rooms. There were individual bathrooms, couches for temporary sleeping, cabinets, Wi-Fi, and LCD TVs hanging on the wall. They had to ensure that there were enough of them to satisfy the needs of the experts. Lu Cheng's, Tu Zheng's, and Lu Xiaofei's rooms were next to each other. After exchanging a few pleasantries, the 3 of them went back to their own homes to make preparations and adjustments before the match. Not long after, the first match of the Guanhai Martial Arts Gym began to play on the TV screen. This year's Battle of the Kings had officially begun. It was different from the individual competitions of lower ranks. Due to the fact that high-ranked fights would affect the surrounding areas, one arena could not be divided into 5 or even 10 arenas to prevent them from getting too close to each other and affecting each other. That was why only the central arena had fights. The surrounding arenas were empty, acting as isolation zones. In this way, in addition to the seats closest to the arena being empty, the safety of the audience and the need to watch the matches in clear view were met. Lu Qing turned the channel leisurely. Sometimes he would watch the local matches, and sometimes he would pay attention to the fights in other arenas. During this process, he held his phone in his hand and exchanged views with Yan Jike as they discussed their opponents. Only when the fourth match of the Guanhai martial arts gym ended did he lock the screen. Leaning back, he closed his eyes and recharged his energy. Through the fine control of his body, his condition quickly climbed to the peak. In Lu Cheng's fan forum, Eternal Nightfall, Yan Shaoling commented, excited. It's been 4 months. I can finally watch my Lu Cheng's matches again. I've captured a Liaozi. Where have you been recently? Unparalleled Dragon King was shocked. Yan Shaoling replied matter-of-factly, I haven't been missing. I've been lying in bed every day, watching TV programs and dramas. I've also been reading the forums every day. I've been busy managing them. It's just that I'm too lazy to type. You're lazy to a certain extent, Brahman replied. I wasn't even this dispirited after my middle school exams. She had just graduated from her 3rd year of middle school this year. I'll be in my 3rd year when school reopens. In a year, I'll be in my 4th year. In another year, I'll be working. Just let me cherish the last few times I'm dispirited. Yan Shaoling didn't feel ashamed at all. Look, even a lazy person like me has specially come to the forum to discuss the match. Lu Qing will definitely win today. Shoo, keep a low profile. Save your luck, all the good names are taken by dogs, replied. A lot of cats also popped up. Yan Shaoling, have you memorized the vocabulary yet? Don't mention such unpleasant things when I'm looking forward to it. Crying face emoji, Yan Shaoling replied. Lin Yu is not easy to win, Unparalleled Dragon King emphasized. Bull Demon King laughed. Yeah. Just the fact that he beat Dragon King and Warrior Sage in the past is enough for him to brag about for the rest of his life. He beat Dragon King and Warrior Sage. Falling to the ground expression, Nya Chichi expressed her shock. He won once. That was when Warrior Sage and Dragon King had just entered the Inhuman stage. With the strength of a senior 4th pin, he won 1 match in the Master Battle and 1 in the Supreme Class Battle, Unparalleled Dragon King explained with a smile. As expected of a senior, Brahman heaved a sigh of relief and praised. This is all old news. The martial art that I'm most envious of in my life is the immortal flesh. Okamoto's fan snickered. What's the most important thing for a man? He's soft when he needs to be and hard when he needs to be. He's so dirty that he can't even see his own fingers. Is the immortal flesh very powerful? Yan Shaoling, a half-assed martial arts enthusiast, maintained her good habit of asking questions whenever she didn't understand. The most powerful martial art of Shizhou Island. What do you think? Unparalleled Dragon King described. Not only does it have great strength and endurance, but it can also nullify or reduce the effects of most poisons. It's impenetrable by fire, impenetrable by water, and has extremely strong recovery ability. In short, it's like wearing a reflective armor. Is he fine even if he doesn't eat, drink, or go to the toilet for a long time? Eyes wide open expression, asked Yan Shaoling. This senior is very powerful, but Lu Qing will definitely win. Theoretically, yes. A plumber eating mushrooms replied, wandering over. Yan Shaoling sent an expression of slamming the table. I'm so envious. If I can master it, I can really not get out of bed for a month. Everyone was speechless. After more than 20 minutes, Lu Qing suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were shining like the brightest stars in the dark night sky. After waiting for more than 10 seconds, there was a rhythmic knock on the door of the resting room. It was neither light nor heavy, just right. Who is it? Lu Qing asked knowingly. Mr. Lu, your match is about to start. It's time for you to go on stage. The staff member lowered his voice, afraid that he would disturb the other inhuman experts in the resting room. All right. Lu Qing picked up his phone and asked for a love cheer from his wife. He opened the door and walked out of the area with the staff member. He walked into the competition venue. Lu Cheng! Lu Cheng! Shouts rang out suddenly, gathering and soaring to the sky. It was as if they could flip the roof of the stadium. This familiar feeling made Lu Cheng's body tremble slightly. It was as if he had returned to the national competition. How nostalgic! How I like it! He waved to the surroundings and walked to the side of the arena amidst even more enthusiastic cheers. He walked up the stone steps without showing off his aura. It was like the calm before a snowstorm. Lin Yu was already waiting on the opposite side. He was about 1.8 m tall and his golden martial arts suit swelled slightly with the rhythm of his breathing. It was as if he had a unique vitality. He had a thin buzz cut, thick eyebrows, and deep eyes. He had a calm temperament and sharp edges. There was nothing special about his facial features. He looked more like a successful person from a debt collection company than a martial artist. Seeing Lu Cheng enter the arena, he smiled and nodded with a relaxed expression. Lu Cheng, who had handed his belongings to the competition supervisor, returned the greeting calmly. The referee checked the clock and raised his right hand. Conversation time starts now. Lin Yu cleared his throat and smiled. In this place, I have met the Dragon King, the martial sage, the Wisdom King, the living Buddha, and many talented young people. Lu Cheng didn't interrupt him and patiently waited for him to finish. I won very few of these matches and lost many of them. But now that I think about it, every match is as fresh as if it had just happened. When I first had no chance to reach the physical invulnerability stage, I was very depressed and didn't participate in title matches for a few years. When I finally calmed down, I realized how much I missed this place. I missed those unique opponents. The Dragon King's aggressive nature and the warrior sage's oppressive aura. So I came back and witnessed the young people either soaring to the clouds or leaving dejectedly. I saw the living Buddha who seemed to be able to see through everything and the Wisdom King who didn't bother with work and kept the complexity simple. As he talked about this topic, the lines on his face seemed to soften. I'm not saying this to provoke you or anything else. I'm telling you that I'll enjoy fighting another heavenly son of the era. Lin Yu's eyes lit up as if they were filled with an indescribable vitality. Then please enlighten me, Senior. Lu Cheng was moved and sincerely admired him. This is a pure martial artist. Senior. If your master hears this, he'll give you a tight slap. Lin Yu laughed. We have to talk as equals. I keep forgetting the fact that my master is very senior. Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh. For the rest of the time, both of them didn't speak and kept themselves in peak condition. The referee glanced at the electronic clock and swung his arm down. His voice shook the surroundings. Begin. Lu Cheng's first title match had officially begun. Bam! He twisted his waist and broke through the air barrier. Stirring up a strong wind, he flashed to Lin Yu's left side at high speed. He didn't want to fight head-on with his opponent. Lin Yu stood there without any reaction, like an immovable mountain. Bam! Lu Cheng gathered his breathing and blood, shook his shoulders, and punched with his right fist towards his opponent's temple. Lin Yu raised his arm to block, his muscles bulging naturally as he blocked. At this moment, the Emperor Yen force in Lu Cheng's fist exploded, creating a downward force. Bam! He swung his arm and his fist changed direction strangely, smashing down on Lin Yu's neck. The 15th style of the fire sect, jet spray. At this critical moment, Lin Yu suddenly took a deep breath. His neck swelled like a python that had swallowed an elephant. His skin was stretched to its limits, glistening with a mixture of green and red. Poof! Lu Cheng's punch landed, creating ripples as if he had hit something made of thousands of pieces of cowhide. Lin Yu had actually blocked his attack with his fragile neck. Indestructible flesh, elephant swallowing. Lu Cheng was prepared. He flicked his joints, spread his fingers, and shot out a few aurora for a second attack. However, Lin Yu only tilted his head to avoid hitting his arteries, allowing the crystal-cold light to pierce through his tough skin and into his neck. Bam! At the same time, he threw out a punch, forcing Lu Cheng to retreat, unwilling to fight him in close combat. Whoosh! 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 The ice spikes on his neck popped out. No blood flowed, and the wound wriggled, quickly healing. Heroes indeed come from the young. He moved his neck and chuckled. Chapter 559. Heroes indeed come from the young. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Yu's bones cracked and his muscles tightened and loosened. It was as if there were thousands of lungs in his body that were pulling bellows, creating a roar that reverberated in the stadium, forcibly suppressing the waves of cheers. It was as if an army of fierce tigers was roaring in the forest. Bam! Lin Yu took a big stride forward, using distance reduction and exploding the air barrier, causing the strong wind to hit Lu Cheng's face. He raised his right arm, seemingly clenching his fist like a tiger's claw. He swung it down fiercely, creating another tiger's roar and leaving a trail of white air behind him. The tiger has become a demon. Praised unparalleled Dragon King in Lu Cheng's fan forum. To be able to practice the most common tiger form to such an extent and display such a level, it was truly not easy. Lu Cheng didn't dodge. Instead, he quickly visualized as Lin Yu closed in. First, it was the deep and cold universe, followed by the appearance of thunderclouds that broke the silence. Using the realm of encountering gods in the void, he reduced the preparation of his muscles, fascias, organs, and qi and blood. He shook his right shoulder and swung his arm upwards. His fist shot into the sky like a cannonball. Severe warning. In a battle of this level, Lin Yu's attacks weren't tight enough, nor were they roundabout. This gave him enough opportunities to use simplified physical invulnerability moves. He wanted to see if his opponent was equally outstanding in terms of mental strength apart from physical strength. Bam! Lu Cheng's skyrocket cannon hit his opponent's swinging fist. A cold light flashed and covered the entire area. The tiger claw that was about to pop out froze on the spot. Lin Yu's eyes were blank, as though frozen. Raising his shoulder and swinging his left arm, Lu Cheng spread his fingers. His fascias protruded as he dug at his opponent's eyes. Kill him while he's down. But at this moment, Lin Yu, whose eyes were blank, tilted his head and instinctively raised his other arm to block Lu Cheng's grab. He completed the block while his mind was frozen. Indestructible flesh, thoughtless and thoughtless. Pfft. Lu Cheng clasped her forearm with his 5 fingers. He felt that her arm was soft, tough, and strong. Her strength was enough to tear apart steel plates, but she only tore his sleeve. At the same time, Lin Yu regained consciousness due to his indestructible flesh body's high resistance to mental attacks. He tightened his thighs and whipped out his tiger tail. Like a steel whip made of alloy, he lashed out abruptly and viciously at Lu Cheng. Compared to the Golden Bell Shield, the indestructible flesh body and the body of the unmovable Wisdom King each had their own strengths. It was precisely because of this that Lin Yu dared to be so bold and unafraid of simplified physical invulnerability moves. Bang! Lu Cheng seemed to have anticipated this and let go of his grip in advance. With a burst of strength in his abdomen, he was propelled backwards. In an instant, he slid more than 10 meters away, leaving 2 crystal-like tracks on the ground. Crack! Lin Yu's kick missed, but he immediately tapped the ground and combined perfectly with the withdrawal and eruption of his qi and blood. He transformed into an eagle soaring in the sky and pounced on Lu Cheng. His shadow covered Lu Cheng's line of sight and figure. This time, there was no room for simplified physical invulnerability moves. Thump. His feet planted firmly on the ground. He swung his right fist and punched out. His left arm followed suit and connected like a machine gun. Boom. 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 His fascia stretched, his joints sprang, and the Dan force in his abdomen erupted like a volcano. Lin Yu's machine punch felt like thousands of cannons were firing at the same time. It was fast, fierce, brilliant, and magnificent. In his eyes, Lu Cheng's pupils suddenly turned red and then purple. He pushed his palms out calmly and blocked the two cannonball-like fists. Phew! Lu Cheng opened his mouth and spat out a light purple flame. It merged with the flame stream in his palms and collapsed into a vortex, firmly blocking the enemy's attack. Simplified physical invulnerability move of the fire sect, Purple Sun. Boom! The whirlpool exploded, shooting out purple flames and hitting Lin Yu's body. However, Lin Yu only closed his eyes and took the hit with his body. Shallow burn marks were left all over his body, but they quickly fell off. He was as good as new, without any injuries. Lu Qing used the rebound of the explosion to pull his waist and back. He leaped more than 10 meters away and out of the range of machine punch. Seeing Lin Yu pouncing on him again, he lowered his arms and shook his wrists, throwing out the white cold light and red flames that were moving close to the ground. At the same time, he swung his center of gravity and bulged his muscles. He forcibly turned around and changed his position with the help of the strong wind. Thump! Thump! It was as if there was a gigantic elephant running on the arena. Lin Yu broke through the cold light and scattered the flames. No matter if it was the cold or the burning heat, he was not affected at all. He was not slowed down at all. His muscles were bulging out of his golden martial arts suit. His muscles were clearly defined, and his body lines were firm. Such a scene and such a body made the blood of the audience boil. They couldn't wait to emulate him. This was the beauty of strength. This was the feeling of battle. Thump. 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 Lu Qing changed his direction continuously. It was as if the arena was shrouded in thunderclouds. Continuous explosions and strong winds blew. The aftermath even shook the big screen hanging in the air. Flying sand and rolling stones were not enough to describe this scene. This was the power of a demigod. In the next few minutes, Lu Qing kept changing his tactics. He used Scorch, Burning God, Jet Spray, Snow Expanse, Cold Bite, and Aurora. Unfortunately, none of them caused any substantial damage to Lin Yu. It was like being bitten by a mosquito, completely harmless. However, Polar Ground, which affected the ground and restrained and interfered with the enemy's movements, had some effect, slowing down the enemy's attacks. This match is going to be interesting. In the Longhu Club forum, Outspoken commented. Yeah, the immortal flesh body is so freakish. It's like a copper pea that can't be steamed, cooked, beaten, or fried. Lu Qing is going to have a lot to grind. Road to the Arena sighed and agreed. Invincible Punch laughed and said, Senior Lin is going to participate in extreme survival programs. It will definitely be interesting. In the midst of the battle, Lu Qing suddenly took a deep breath and swung back a few meters. When Lin Yu pounced on him, he visualized and activated his qi and blood to stimulate the corresponding parts of his body. The blood demon force turned into an arrow and pierced into the head of the giant elephant. Simplified army formula. In that instant, Lin Yu was in a trance. His limbs and head seemed to be tied to different horses. They were running in all directions. He tried his best to resist and prevent himself from being dismembered. However, just as he pulled the horses to a stop, a heavenly weapon shimmering with cold light suddenly slashed down. The cold light cut through his own skin. He shuddered and woke up. Lu Cheng, who was in front of him, threw a punch at the void. Blazing white flames condensed on the surface of his fist. They collapsed to the limit and suddenly exploded. Boom! The light was so bright that it blurred Lin Yu's vision. Numerous fire arrows drilled into his skin, exploding and burning. The 36th move of the fire sect, Devour. Lin Yu's muscles wriggled and his skin contracted. The flames were extinguished inch by inch and didn't have much effect. However, Lu Qing took advantage of his enemy's confusion and took the initiative to close in. Bam! He punched out from his waist. Before that, he contracted his qi and blood and balanced them into Dan. He kept the burning heat away from the boundary and made the darkness even colder. Self-created unique skill, Lament of the Ice Queen. Lin Yu didn't feel the danger. He punched with absolute reaction, creating an air explosion in the narrow space. Bam! A muffled sound rushed into the sky. Lu Cheng's body swayed backward and maintained his center of gravity. Lin Yu was surrounded by a thick layer of ice, as if he was sealed in a transparent coffin. No matter how strong his body was, he couldn't prevent the surface of his body from freezing. That was the realm of physical invulnerability. Crack! Crack! Lin Yu's muscles expanded and broke the ice coffin. However, Lu Qing took the opportunity to visualize the heavy and scorching Emperor Yan and compress the fire force in his body. Following that, he controlled the violent force with fire god Zhurong. He opened his right arm and punched out like lightning. The 10th move of the fire sect, simplified physical invulnerability, internal explosion. Lin Yu's feet were still sealed in ice, so he couldn't dodge. However, he was confident in his body. He shook his arm and punched out. Boom! The force of internal explosion couldn't penetrate completely into the enemy's body. Half of it exploded in his muscles and skin, causing only a slight vibration. The other half penetrated with difficulty, shaking his qi and blood and tumbling his organs. However, this kind of damage was nothing to Lin Yu. His expression didn't change. He pulled his feet and the ice coffin shattered completely. However, Lu Qing had already activated his qi and blood to stimulate his body. He used the simplified fighting formula. He controlled his body and tightened most of his bulging muscles. He raised his arm and punched down. Bam! As soon as they made contact, Lu Cheng's tightened muscles relaxed. The force of the vibration spread outward, triggering Lin Yu's remaining influence and shaking his body. This was a combination of the simplified fighting formula and Thunder Roar Zen. Lin Yu's body jumped. His muscles shook and slowed down for half a beat. Lu Qing visualized again and formed the force of internal explosion. He punched out again. Boom! Bam! Boom! Bam! Lu Qing stretched his back and threw out punch after punch. He combined internal explosion with fighting formula. One caused damage, the other controlled. Lin Yu, who hadn't reached the realm of encountering gods in the void, fell into a passive state. He could only hold on bitterly, unable to find a way to break the situation. Once, twice, thrice, 4, 5. Lu Qing used the simplified fighting formula 5 times and landed 5 internal explosions on his opponent. If it were any other inhuman mighty one, they would be severely injured even if they didn't die. However, Lin Yu was only bleeding from the corner of his mouth. His condition was deteriorating and he wasn't at his limit yet. However, this way, even if Lu Qing didn't use the simplified fighting formula, his Dan force explosion and tremor punch could still affect and control Lin Yu's body, which was injured by the recoil. 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. Lu Qing landed another 3 internal explosions on Lin Yu. Every punch landed on flesh with insane strength. The audience's blood boiled. Bam! Lu Qing took a step forward. His eyes were wide open. His body became abnormally tall, like a god descending to earth. He spread his right arm and threw out another internal explosion. Lin Yu, whose eyes were in a daze from the shock, subconsciously raised his arm and blocked. Boom! The sound of an explosion came from within. Lin Yu's muscles trembled. His body stiffened and stopped moving. Lu Qing took the initiative to back away and put some distance between them. The referee raised his right hand and announced loudly, "Lu Qing wins." Lin Yu's lips moved as if he wanted to say something. However, when he opened his mouth, blood spurted out. His entire body fell to the ground like a toppling mountain. Clang! The sound stunned many of the audience. In the Longhu Club forum, Pig Riding Knight said blankly, "What was Lu Qing doing earlier? He would have won earlier." Chapter 560. Similar questions appeared in Lu Chang's fan forum. Bull Demon King replied in a funny manner, "Maybe it's because I haven't fought for a long time, so I'm a little rusty. It's rare to have such a good opponent. If I don't take the opportunity to practice my newly learned martial arts, how can I face myself?" Unparalleled Dragon King laughed sinisterly. In other words, our Lu Qing wasn't serious at the beginning. Yan Shaoling asked when she didn't understand. A plumber eating mushrooms replied, "Of course he was serious all the time. But most of the time, his purpose was to try and gain experience. Simply speaking, a competition that doesn't aim to win is a hooligan." Okamoto's fan concluded concisely. "If you don't mind, I can use a more vivid metaphor to describe it." "I don't want to hear it. It's definitely dirty." Covering ears and shaking head expression, replied Brahman. "Fight, fight, fight." The last few moves were simply awesome. Ageless Old Spear continued to vent his emotions. "Yeah, so cool," added Niechichi. Yan Shaoling replied with a proud expression, "Ha, like I said, there's no need to keep a low profile for the current opponents. When has Lu Qing ever disappointed us?" "Yes, yes, yes. All the good names are taken by dogs," replied with a certain meme, then sighed and said, "Speaking of this, I think of Lin Quebec. He should have had a smooth sailing life, but now he can only participate in competitions below the inhuman stage, and the ones that aren't too important. He can only watch the broadcast occasionally." Sigh. "I feel sorry for Lin K." "Don't you have a new Adonis?" asked Brahman curiously. "When did I have a new Adonis?" Confused expression, replied, "All the good names are taken by dogs." Yan Shaoling pointed out, "Didn't you say that Poison Milk Hierarch's hairless style was very cute?" Without waiting for a reply, she replayed the match excitedly. She took a few screenshots of Lu Cheng's handsome and tough moves and was busy collecting and categorizing them for the Squirrel Gang. In the resting room, Tu Zheng sat on the sofa with his body bent forward. His right elbow was supporting his thigh and his fist was supporting his chin. He stared intently at the TV screen which was replaying the match. Beep. His phone rang. He received a message from Lu Xiaofei next door, "Leader 2, Lu Qing created that move himself, right? He had seen him use it during the National University Martial Arts competition in April. Now that he saw it again, he was even more certain of it. Yeah, it should be the result of comprehending boundless starry sky, absolute frost. That move was originally not perfect enough, but for him to come up with something new, it is indeed impressive." Tu Jing deliberated for a few seconds before replying to Lu Xiaofei. He should be the leader of this generation of inhumans who practice the unique skills of the Ice sect. I don't know what the Wiwa Club is thinking, but they didn't stop him from joining us. After clicking the send button, Tu Jing remained silent for a moment before he suddenly sighed. Liu Cheng's performance was more than just awesome. At his current level, after comprehending the Fire Sex Physical Invulnerability chapters, it wasn't strange for him to create a move or two. However, for a unique skill to have the power of a simplified physical invulnerability move, that was unimaginable. It was said that Liu Cheng's master had done something similar when he was at the inhuman stage. He combined the skills of the Thunder Sect and the Ice Sect and created a Tremor Punch. The killer move was a simplified physical invulnerability move, but it was only similar. This was because the killer move was based on the simplified physical invulnerability move of the Ice Sect, Hibernation, with some new additions. As for Liu Cheng's move, it seemed to have been created from nothing. At least, no one had seen anything similar before for those below physical invulnerability. Sigh. Facing such a heavenly son of the era, even if I could suppress him in terms of strength and realm, I would still feel dejected from time to time. Of course, this was also motivation. In the arena, Liu Cheng saw Lin Yu fall and almost create a huge crater. He hurried over and tried to help him up and send him to the emergency room. He admired this pure-blooded martial artist quite a lot. At this moment, Lin Yu supported himself with his arms and stood up slowly. He wiped the blood from his mouth and gave a thumbs up weakly. Impressive. You almost broke my old bones. Damn. He can still move. He's still alive and kicking. Liu Cheng's mouth was half open. He had forgotten what he wanted to say. He could control the minute details of his body and make precise repairs. If he took 5 internal explosions from someone of the same level, he would be seriously injured and on the verge of death. Other than being sent to the emergency room, he couldn't do anything else. However, Lin Yu took a total of 9 internal explosions and looked like he could still run home. He could barely hold on when all his injuries were detonated. In the blink of an eye, he recovered. The indestructible flesh body was truly perverse. He's really a freaking monster. He's really a demonic beast from Nebula M78, Liu Cheng thought in surprise. However, even the strongest martial arts had its shortcomings. Immortal flesh couldn't produce all kinds of mysterious force. Only the recovery effect and defense ability were insane. Fierce, fierce. Each generation is more ruthless than the previous. Lin Yu shook his head with a smile and bowed. He turned around and walked towards the stone steps without a trace of hesitation. At first, he was still staggering. Later on, he was steady and steady. Phew, it's true that I have to experience it personally to be able to grasp the various impressive aspects of the indestructible flesh. Watching videos would only give me a superficial understanding of it, and I wouldn't be able to form a distinct impression of it. Liu Cheng sighed to himself. Amidst the shouts of Liu Cheng from the crowd, he walked down the arena and returned to his exclusive lounge. After sharing the details of the previous battle with Yenjika, Liu Cheng collected himself and controlled his qi and blood. He repaired his body from the minute details and healed the injuries that had just appeared. Half an hour later, he was even able to divert his attention to watch the battles in other matches. In the afternoon, he filled his stomach with Tu Zheng and Lu Xiaofei at the restaurant attached to the Guanhai Martial Arts Stadium. After that, he slept for about 40 minutes. After that, his essence, qi, spirit, will, and body were back to their peak and ready for another battle. This was the benefit of combining the all-seeing God realm and the wholeness formula. In the afternoon, he watched the battles of Tu Zheng, Lu Xiaofei, and the rest of his teammates in the resting room. He took turns to ponder about the other popular matches and had a great discussion with his wife. During this process, and Chaoyang sent him a good news. He said that he had encountered a 5th pin inhuman. After a tough battle, he finally won by a hair's breadth and didn't embarrass himself by being eliminated in the first round. As for Peng Liyun, who was fighting in the last match in the afternoon, with the help of the Encountering Gods in the Void, Self-Reflection realm, his wave after wave of godly skill had taken another step forward. Surprisingly, he did not face the predicament of nearly losing. From start to finish, everything was under his control. He seems to be a little stronger than me again. Lu Qing smacked his lips. In the evening, at the Sky Moon Martial Arts Stadium, Renli went up the stage and displayed the all-seeing God realm. She won without a doubt. This made Lu Qing feel an inexplicable pressure. Those two guys are improving at lightning speed. I can't be left behind again after working so hard to catch up. Full of energy, he returned to the hotel with Tu Zheng and Lu Xiaofei, who had also won. For the rest of the day, other than training and eating, Lu Qing didn't leave the room. As there were too many popular matches to pay attention to, there were piles of videos he wanted to watch, and there were too many details to figure out. He didn't have the time to wander around. Yanjika was always very interested in such things. She seemed to have put herself in her shoes and was also participating in the Battle of the Kings. She chatted enthusiastically with Lu Qing. After the first round ended, there was a day's rest. Lu Qing was still holed up in the hotel, researching the competitors who were stronger than him. He was so busy that he didn't even have time to play games. He picked up his phone and replied to his little fairy. Just as he was about to put it down, he suddenly received a notification that he had been added to a discussion group. "Let's meet up tonight," asked in Chaoyang. This time, he had learned his lesson and formed the Lin Fu food group. Another day. I still have a bunch of battle videos to watch. "Let's meet up after the double elimination round," replied Ping Liyun, who had changed his nickname to Physics Laborer. +1. Renli added. Lu Qing looked at the video on his tablet and replied with a laughing expression, "What a coincidence. Damn it, a bunch of youths who are addicted to battle videos." In this rhythm of life, it was already evening. The organizing committee announced the matchups. From the second round onwards, someone would be given a bye. After 3 rounds, there would be exactly 64 fighters left. I want to advance straight away, but I also want to have a real fight. What a conflicting feeling. Lu Qing scrolled down the page and found the name of his opponent. Sky Moon Martial Arts Stadium, 5th match tonight, Longhu Club, Lu Qing vs. Daxing Temple, Zhitong. Zhitong. I heard that he was quite famous. In his generation, he was only inferior to Wisdom King Ji Hai and Senior Brother Ji Ren. Lu Qing was stunned at first, but was immediately overjoyed. Finally, he could witness the strength of a direct disciple of Daxing Temple. Half an hour later, he received a message from Yan Jika while he was studying the video of Zhitong's match. It was a link to a news article. He clicked on it. Zhitong was stopped by the official reporter of Battle of the Kings outside the Zen temple where he lived. He accepted the interview. He put his palms together and said, "Namo Amitabha. A monk doesn't lie. This humble monk wants to win against almsgiver Lu." The video ended and the reporter commented, "He also has the strength to win." Chapter 561. After the news ended, it switched back to the anchor. He chuckled and said, "As you can see, Ji Tong, Ping Liyun, and Ren Li's opponents all expressed their desire to win. The reputation of the heavenly son of the era is both a compliment and a pressure. When others meet you, they will be filled with fighting spirit. A tree that stands out in the forest will be blown away by the wind. A person who is stronger than others will be ridiculed by the crowd. Defeating a heavenly son of the era is definitely something to be proud of and engraved in people's minds. Let's wipe our eyes and wait patiently. This live streamer is pretty good. Just a few words and she's able to make people's blood boil." Lu Qing praised in his heart. He replied to Ku calmly, "But I want to win too. What should I do?" he added with a confused emoji. Yenjika patted his shoulder and said, "Comrade Lu Qing, I believe you can win as long as you don't act recklessly." Lu Qing had told his fairy about the divine art of recklessness as a joke. He didn't expect her to remember it immediately. How would I dare? He's a direct disciple of Daxing Temple. Lu Qing said. Yenjika rested her chin on her hand and said, "Based on my understanding of you, you will act recklessly when facing a direct disciple of Daxing Temple. Don't you want to see the Buddhist Zen arts? Don't you want to see the two secret arts of Vajra and womb accumulation?" Yes. Ko knows me best. Lu Qing sent a crying face emoji. It's okay. Act recklessly. You should at least leave me something to laugh at for the rest of my life. Let's talk about Ji Tong. He mainly cultivates the Vajra sect's Vajra secret arts. Once he advances to physical invulnerability, his body will be able to evolve the body of the Vajra. Other than that, he's also good at various secret arts derived from the Vajra seal and the Vajra secret arts, as well as the Dan stage martial arts from the Great Light Scripture. He has also mastered the 6-syllable Sanskrit mantra. But don't worry, it said that his Zen mind isn't pure, so he wasn't able to cultivate the weakened version of thought steel. Lu Qing nodded slightly and started to talk with Ku. At the end of the conversation, he asked curiously, "Does Daxing Temple have any forbidden arts?" "It's the leading Buddhist sect." "Yes, but I don't know what it's called." "In any case, it's able to cultivate the Vairocana body," Yenjika recalled. According to her description, the Daxing Temple had a taboo divine art to suppress it. It was divided into the Great Light Scripture, the Womb Realm, and the Vajra Realm. Each of them derived the content of the Dan stage. The next day, Lu Qing trained and studied videos during the day and headed to the Sky Moon Martial Arts Stadium at night. At this point in time, other than An Chaoyang who lost the competition as expected, Peng Liyun, Renli, Tu Zheng, Meng Liang and the other popular contestants had all successfully advanced to the next round. This added a lot of pressure to him. After a while, he finished his adjustments and left the lounge. Under the guidance of the staff, he walked along the path of glory and walked towards the central arena. Amidst the cheers of the crowd, Lu Qing finished climbing the stone steps and saw Ji Tong. He was wearing a gray monk's robe and his scalp was gray. His eyes were more black than white, giving him a gloomy look. The great Vidranath was also known as the Devil Deka. After they nodded to each other, the referee did not wait any longer. He raised his right hand and shouted, "Conversation time starts now." Ji Tong put his palms together in front of his chest and said softly, "Almsgiver Lu, I believe you have seen the interview I accepted last night." His tone was calm and did not show any signs of aggression. "Yes, but anyone would want to win." "There's nothing strange about it," replied Lu Qing calmly. Ji Tong nodded slightly and laughed softly. "All this while, Master Abbot and my master thought that I was too competitive and had hindered the progress of Buddhism. I want to prove to them that fighting can also make one a Buddha." He said the last few words in a rhythmic tone. The gloominess in his eyes faded away and was replaced by a golden glow. A strong desire to fight came from the bottom of his heart. There was even a hint of his original intention. At this moment, the Ji Tong in Lu Cheng's eyes suddenly grew taller. His expression was solemn and dignified. He could intimidate and subdue external demons and make people cower in fear. At the same time, the golden glow around him spread out in circles and illuminated the entire arena. It was both holy and compassionate, causing many in the audience to have the urge to worship him. Awe-inspiring on the inside and the light of Buddha on the outside. Pressure assaulted his heart and his aura interfered with his mind. Lu Qing quickly reined in his thoughts and turned water into ice. He turned the lake into a mirror and settled all the negative feelings so that they would no longer rise and fall. Whoosh! A cold wind seemed to blow past the arena. Amidst the coldness was the true meaning of blood fiend formed from thousands of killings. It was as though an apocalyptic blizzard was about to arrive. The light of Buddha dimmed slightly and rippled in all directions. It withstood the terrifying blizzard softly but tenaciously, like a lantern that illuminated the path to return home on a snowy night. The battle of auras was evenly matched. Ji Tong retracted his gaze and no longer looked at Lu Qing. His lips moved as he began chanting scriptures. It went from soft to silent and grew louder and louder. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Lu Qing felt as though there were 1,000 monks chanting Buddhist scriptures while knocking on wooden fish. Amidst the noise, there was a sense of transcendence. It caused cracks to form on his ice mirror and the lake to ripple. Can conversation time be used like this? Lu Cheng's eyes darkened. He took control of his body with the stance of all-seeing God. Thump. 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 His heartbeat grew louder and louder. It contained the whistling of the blizzard and the swinging of weapons. Thump. 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 Ji Tong felt his heartbeat quicken involuntarily, resonating with Lu Cheng's chest more than 20 meters away. His blood flow was impeded and his head was spinning. Just as the two were exchanging blows across the air, the referee raised his arm and waved his hand. He announced loudly, "Begin." The second round of the Battle of the Kings preliminaries had officially begun. Gotcha! Ji Tong took a step forward and stepped on the lotus flower. In an instant, he was 5 meters away from Lu Qing. The light of Buddha around him had yet to dissipate. Without stopping, he shook his right arm. His palm seemed heavy but was actually swift. His skin was golden, as though cast from brass. It was the great Vajra palm derived from the Vajra seal of the Vajra sect. Bam! This palm strike solidified the air in front of it, causing it to condense inch by inch into a steel plate that headed straight for Lu Qing. The second attack was the chi followed by the palm strike. This way, if the enemy tried to parry, the air-current steel plate would consume most of his strength, giving the subsequent great Vajra palm a huge advantage. Lu Qing didn't move around. He calmly withdrew his chi and blood and exploded his Dan force. Then he pulled his arm, bulged his muscles, and threw a punch at the solidified air current. Bam! The steel plate scattered and the air current turned into waves. A pale golden palm struck out from the eye of the storm and was about to hit Lu Cheng's fist. Without much resistance from his opponent, Ji Tong could shatter the bones of a martial artist of the same level with a single palm strike. At this moment, a muffled explosion sound came from Lu Cheng's fist and wrist. His exhausted attack was rejuvenated and moved forward another inch. The 15th style of the fire sect, jet spray. This was another type of application. Bam! The pale golden palm shook as if it was about to shatter. At this moment, Ji Tong extended his other hand from his waist. Fast as lightning. He curled his forefingers and extended his thumb to poke at his opponent's abdomen. The pale golden light of Buddha turned into two colors, pure, clear, dangerous, and terrifying. Vajra seal, demon vanquishing finger. It was good at breaking through the hard and could restrain divine kung fu like golden bell shield and immortal flesh to a certain extent. Lu Cheng's stance was perfect. His left fist didn't lose its position. He swung his arm down, bringing with it a blazing fire. Poof! Just as his fist came into contact with the thumb glowing in red and green, the flames immediately extinguished as if they had never appeared. The strike that could split gold and stone didn't produce a shattering sound. Logically speaking, a clenched fist should have the upper hand against a finger. However, Ji Tong's demon-vanquishing finger was so hard that it seemed to have stepped into the realm of Vajra. Bam! Failing to hit, Ji Tong swung his right arm as if he was waving a monk's staff. With layers of pale golden light of Buddha, he smashed it in front of Lu Qing. It seemed like he was going to smash Lu Cheng's body in block. Vajra sect, mad devil's pestle derived from the secret arts of might. Lu Qing didn't have time to dodge or perform force concentration. He shifted his center of gravity, straightened his back, and swung his arm upwards. His fist rubbed against the air as he put on the unusually heavy red gloves of flame. The 13th move of the fire sect, scorch. Boom! An explosion swept outwards. Lu Cheng's fist pressed against Ji Tong's forearm. The golden skin caved in as the light of Buddha and rain of fire fell. Immediately after, Ji Tong's arm swung back while Lu Cheng's fist swung back. Their tendons and meridians were sore and had to be relieved. Ji Tong took a deep breath and resisted the negative effects with the body of might and wisdom. He raised his left arm, turned his palm into a knife, and chopped down at high speed. Bam bam bam. He swung left and right, slashing several times consecutively. Every slash left afterimages behind. They were as fast as lightning and as nimble as a blooming lotus. However, they still couldn't break through Lu Cheng's inner line of defense. With the ice mirror on him, he could predict in advance. Be it with his fists, palms, arms, or elbows, his defense was impenetrable. Bam bam bam. Ji Tong's palms chopped faster and faster. In the end, the heat generated by the high-speed friction ignited the air. Womb Hidden Sect, Guardian Azure Fire Chapter, Blazing Divine Saber. With a leap, the crimson flame spread and burned towards Lu Qing from every part of the palms, forming a net of fire. Lu Cheng's eyes were illuminated by the flames. His palms and palms were mixed in as he took advantage of the chaos to attack. Faced with such a situation, he wasn't surprised. Instead, he was delighted. He casually threw out a punch. The crimson flames converged on the surface of his fist and collapsed inward, absorbing the surrounding flames. In an instant, it reached its limit and suddenly exploded. Boom! The blazing white light blurred Ji Tong's vision. The flames that were burning towards Lu Qing rolled back with the wind and waves, surrounding him. The 36th style of the fire sect, devour. Emperor Yen force had always interfered with the flames of others. Emperor Yen, the sovereign of fire. Lu Qing lowered his body and was about to approach Ji Tong to give him a severe warning or lament of the Ice Queen. However, at this moment, a grand, solemn, and sacred Buddhist voice suddenly rang in his ears. Ma! Once the voice was heard, heaven and earth seemed to be connected. The surrounding airflow contracted and turned into a swamp, forming a cage. It froze the flames and restrained Lu Qing. 6 syllables of Sanskrit mantra, Ma syllable. Lu Qing knew he was in trouble the moment he froze. Seeing that he couldn't throw a punch, he immediately redirected his qi and blood, expanded his muscles, and used pure strength to break free from the entanglement. Bam, bam, bam. The sound of the airflow barrier breaking rang out continuously. At this moment, Ji Tong's vision had recovered. He formed a new seal with his hands. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he exhaled solemnly and said, Ba. His voice reverberated in the surroundings. The Buddhist light shone brightly. Under the guidance of a mysterious force, they formed 4 arms on Ji Tong's shoulders. 4 illusory, dark blue, terrifying, and exaggerated arms. At the same time, Ji Tong's expression showed obvious anger. His muscles bulged and his skin turned from pale gold to blue. He looked gloomy and powerful. Wisdom King transformation, propelled by the boss syllable. This was a killer move that Ji Tong, who was highly talented in battle, had painstakingly created. It was one of the top 3 simplified physical invulnerability moves of various sects. The only downside was that it took a long time to prepare. Therefore, he had to find an opportunity to trap Lu Qing with the monosyllable. And this opportunity was created by Ji Tong from the very beginning. How could he not know that Lu Qing had Emperor Yan force and mastered the Dan stage chapter of the fire sect? He was waiting for Lu Qing to counterattack and mess up the situation. Bam, bam, bam. Ji Tong took a step forward. His fists and the 4 new arms smashed towards Lu Qing, who had just broken free from the restraints. There was no fancy move, just a flurry of blows. Lu Cheng's eyes narrowed. Before his opponent took a step forward, he had already outlined the ancient word. He formed a seal with both hands, aimed it at himself, and shouted, "Fighting." The complete fighting formula. 9 words formula versus 6 words mantra. The outline of his muscles was shocking. Lu Qing leaned back, raised his arms, and swung them horizontally. Boom! The 6 arms smashed down. The airflow was blown apart. Lu Cheng's body swayed as he felt the surging power. His arms trembled and were about to break. Without the combination of simplified physical and vulnerability moves, the fighting formula was still lacking. Lu Qing had no choice but to twist his back and push his legs inward. With superior control, he directed the unbearable external force to the ground. Crack! He lowered his body and both his legs sank into the arena, up to 2 inches above his ankles. What kind of terrifying power was this? What kind of exaggerated effect was this? In the Longhu Club, Optimus Prime Longjin wiped the sweat off his forehead as he walked out of the volcano laboratory. He saw Dragon King, Qin Chitao, watching the battle between Lu Qing and Ji Tong. Wisdom King transformation. Longjin took a glance and clicked his tongue. "It's just a pretty face," Qin Chitao commented succinctly. Longjin smiled and didn't say a word. This was the Dragon King's attitude towards the various forms of Wisdom King and God spirits. From this point of view, the formation of 4 arms and 3 heads was a requirement of the Buddhist and Taoist sects when they preached. It was to shock the masses and gather believers. However, in a real battle, it would appear to be a waste of energy. If he had the time, he could just form them into spheres. Not only would it take less time to prepare for the 3 heads and 6 arms Wisdom King transformation, but the effect could also be concentrated, increasing the power by at least 20%. Under the guidance of this philosophy, the secret arts of the fire sect that he inherited from the Taoist sect were modified beyond recognition. He was often mocked by warrior sages for being a tortoise puncher. Lu Cheng's qi and blood were churning violently, his muscles were trembling. His legs were trapped in the limestone. For a moment, Lu Qing couldn't pull them out. His right arm's skin turned black, and his bones and tendons were extremely sore. He temporarily lost the ability to exert force. Ji Tong retracted his angry form and became solemn again. He clasped his palms together. Under the guidance of visualization, he gathered all the remaining Buddha's light in the center of his closed palms. He was going to use the simplified physical invulnerability move from the Great Light Scripture, Tathagata's finger, to clinch victory. This was also a move that was hard to defend against. It was extremely taxing on the body. However, once it hit the enemy, even if the enemy had the indestructible flesh body, they would still be penetrated if they hadn't reached physical invulnerability. However, the preparation time was too long, and the signs were obvious. If he hadn't stopped Lu Qing on the spot, Ji Tong wouldn't have wasted the time to use it. As for now, it was time to finish it in one fell swoop. Dong dong dong. Lu Cheng's heart raced as he sensed a strong sense of danger. He couldn't be bothered to clean up his wounds and regroup. He seized the time to visualize the deep and cold dark universe and the heavy great sun that was finally ignited by the accumulation of dust. Mutated version of severe warning. At this moment, Ji Tong opened his palm slightly and a crack appeared. An extremely bright laser shot out like the finger of Mahavirakkana, heading straight for Lu Cheng's lower abdomen. Such speed was comparable to lightning, not something a human could achieve. Therefore, if Lu Cheng didn't dodge in advance, he wouldn't be able to dodge it. The referee wouldn't be able to save him either. It was because of this that Ji Tong didn't choose a vital part. However, just as his closed palms were about to split open, Lu Cheng seemed to have a premonition. He swung his left arm downwards and smashed his fist. Darkness enveloped him. Poof! The laser hit the surface of his fist and dissipated instantly, leaving only a faint mark of fire. Ji Tong's pupils shrank as if they were needles. Didn't Tathagata's fingers say it could even penetrate the indestructible flesh body? Lu Cheng's calm appearance was only on the surface. His left fist had already suffered some damage. His fascia was in chaos, his muscles were torn, and his bones were almost broken. The force that was supposed to rebound and explode could only dissipate as he swung his fist. As expected of the heavenly son of the era. As Lu Cheng swung his fist, Ji Tong secretly used the Wang formula, using the sword of wisdom to sever the fear and hesitation in his heart and shake off his emotional turmoil. He formed another hand seal and said solemnly, "Om." It was as if something from heaven and earth had entered his body and stimulated it. His qi and blood surged and reached the pinnacle again. At this moment, Ji Tong hadn't reached his limit and still had a lot of stamina. However, he still used the OM formula in advance. Only by maintaining his peak condition and suppressing his opponent would he have a chance of defeating the injured Lu Cheng. If he dragged it out to his limit, there would be many variables in between. He might even be at a disadvantage and lose the opportunity to use it. Saving your trump card for last was the stupidest choice. In the blink of an eye, Ji Tong's condition was refreshed. Once again, he emitted circles of Buddha's light. Seeing Lu Cheng break free from the bluestone trap, he slid forward and approached him. At this moment, Lu Cheng had already controlled his injuries with the encountering gods in the void realm. His qi and blood circulated, stimulating his body and expanding his fascia. Half of his muscles tightened, ready to strike. Simplified fighting formula combined with Thunder Roar Zen. Bam! Lu Cheng swung his arm and punched at Ji Tong, who had just recovered to his peak condition. Ji Tong struck out with his palm. His pale golden palm hit his opponent's fist. Bam! Lu Cheng tightened his muscles in a hurry. His strength suddenly exploded at a single point, causing a strong vibration. Ji Tong's body jumped slightly. His organs shook, but his movements didn't slow down. Lu Cheng circulated his qi and blood again, using the simplified fighting formula. He tightened his muscles again and struck out with Thunder Roar Zen. Bam, bam, bam. He spread his arms and swung them with every step. With one fighting roar and one thunder roar, his body became abnormally tall. It was as if the thunder god had descended and was swinging his electric hammer left and right. There was nothing fancy about it. It was pure strength and pure oppression. Bam, bam, bam. Ji Tong couldn't find a gap in his opponent's tight rhythm and could only block. After a few consecutive strikes, his qi and blood were in serious turmoil. His organs were shaking and his muscles were trembling, making it difficult for him to exert force. Wuyue Province, Moshang. Seeing this, Gizershur clicked his tongue and said, "This brat finally has some of the demeanor of, ahem, the old me when I killed an inhuman with 19 Thunder Roar Zen." After 5 punches, Lu Cheng slowed down and changed his rhythm. Taking advantage of the fact that Ji Tong's eyes were still unfocused and the vibration hadn't been suppressed, he made the thundercloud appear in the darkness and let the sound break the ice. Bam! He struck again, smashing down from above. This time, it was slightly different from before. Severe warning. This was necessary to control the rhythm of the battle and also because his fighting formula had reached its limit. Bam! Ji Tong instinctively blocked with the Vajra palm. His vision turned black and he felt cold all over. He seemed to have lost consciousness. Lu Qing took half a step forward and visualized Emperor Yan, compressing his fire force. His eyes widened as if the fire god Zhurong had appeared in the void. He punched out with his left fist, aiming for Ji Tong's waist. Boom! Ji Tong's mind was stabilized with a hum, and he quickly broke free from the freezing of his thoughts. He barely managed to block the attack, but the power of the implosion completely triggered the tremors that he had been painstakingly suppressing. His organs and tendons were also damaged, and his legs that wanted to dodge temporarily lost their strength. As his body trembled, Lu Qing straightened his back and threw a punch. It was the same size, the same power, and the same internal explosion. Because of his encountering gods in the void realm, his internal explosion punch was much simpler and shorter. He could now take advantage of his opponent's delay due to the vibration and injuries. After a boom, Lu Qing raised his left arm and raised his right fist again. Another internal explosion and dantian, not giving his opponent any time to adjust. Boom! Ji Tong's palm pressed against his lower abdomen. He felt something exploding in his body. His mind buzzed and his vision turned red. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. His body went limp and fell onto Lu Qing's raised arm. The same question echoed in his mind. Why? Why is it that even though I'm back at my peak, I'm not as good as I was in the first half of the battle? Lu Qing turned his fist into a palm and supported Ji Tong firmly. The referee's voice rang in his ears. Lu Qing wins. It's like a bug in the system. Lu Qing can easily take down any opponent who isn't in the same realm as him. Longzhen shook his head and laughed, standing tall like a mountain. That little monk is too stupid. He actually went head-to-head with an opponent with all-seeing God. At some point, Ning Zidong had appeared in the control room of the laboratory. Chapter 562. Ha 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 ha, if the heavenly son of the age could be defeated so easily, he wouldn't be the heavenly son of the age. It doesn't matter how pumped up he is. As soon as the match ended, Brahman began to post comments in Lu Cheng's fan forum. She was in the most leisurely stage of her life after graduating from junior high school. A heavenly son of the era should be the one to make his opponents, who are full of fighting spirit and explosive seed, lose without any temper. A plumber eating mushrooms echoed. The realm of all-seeing God has greatly increased my combat strength. Unparalleled Dragon King replied absent-mindedly. Eternal Nightfall Yan Shaoling said, setting off Firecracker's expression, let's not talk about these useless things. Let's go crazy together. Get your hands ready and prepare your precious resources. What resources do you have? Laughing sinisterly expression, Okamoto's fan said. I have resources from all kinds of old and young idols starring in TV series. More than 2 Ts. Motherf asterisk Kerr, I used to put it on the internet and almost lost it. Yan Shaoling replied with a crying expression. You just defeated Ji Tong, what resources do you have to share? The real opponents are still to come. Not to mention the old grandpas, there are still Ji Ren, Meng Liang, Go Wen, Wang Xian, Ren Li, Jing Shiduo and Peng Liyun. You might meet them in the 3rd round. Even if you don't, you won't be able to avoid them in the double elimination round of the top 64. Unparalleled Dragon King stopped Yan Shaoling's celebration. Let's celebrate after we defeat one of them. Actually, it doesn't matter. Other than Renli and Peng Liyun, the rest have been at the inhuman stage for a few years. It's normal to lose to them. I have a good mentality. Rolling expression, Yan Shaoling said. In the resting room of the Guanhai Martial Arts Stadium, a monk in a gray robe was watching the battle between Lu Qing and Ji Tong. His face was thin and oval, with a broad forehead and drooping eyes. He was Daxing Temple's senior brother, Ji Ren, who was said to be a mighty one who could reach physical invulnerability within a year. After pondering for a while, he suddenly stood up and stepped on the ground. His body swayed backward like a piece of paper, as though he was trying to avoid the consecutive attacks of the illusory Lu Qing. The resting room was small. He quickly retreated to the wall and then to the ceiling, as though he was stepping out of a lotus flower. Retreating in order to advance. In the presidential suite of a 5-star hotel, a girl with 2 braids stared at the TV screen, replaying the scene of Lu Qing defeating Ji Tong over and over again. She looked ordinary, but her eyes were bright. She had some Miao blood in her. She was about 25 or 26 years old. She was the proud disciple of the Black Tortoise sect, Go One. After a moment of serious contemplation, Go One put down her feet and stood in the middle of the living room. She pushed out her palms heavily and interweaved a dense network. The sound of water was vast and mighty, like a surging river. Lu Cheng's attack was only a few iron chains. They could stop the ship, but they couldn't stop the current. She stopped and adjusted from time to time. Gradually, the girl felt more confident. In a certain room on the 33rd floor of Wanhua Hotel, Tu Zheng held the remote control in his hand. His gaze was unfocused as he stared ahead. His mind was filled with images of Lu Cheng's continuous thundering zen and internal explosion. How should he deal with it? After thinking for a while, he retracted his gaze and regained his composure. He put down the remote control and walked to the desk with an empty space. He lowered his waist and got into position. As the flames burned his body, his potential was stimulated. Sounds of tendons stretching and bones popping could be heard from Tu Zheng's body. He grew taller in an instant. Bang! 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 He controlled his strength and swung his fist forward. In his imagination, this was a combination of explosive secret arts and flaming cannon punch. He was going to fight Lu Qing head-on and tremors against tremors. In the end, it would be internal explosion against internal explosion to see who could last the longest. They were both in the realm of encountering gods in the void, but he, who was close to attaining physical invulnerability, was clearly superior to Lu Qing. Rather than battle strength, it was better to compete in levels. While the popular fighters were imagining how to overcome the situation, Lu Qing bowed and watched as Ji Tong was helped to the emergency room. His injuries weren't fatal, but they were serious enough. In comparison, Lin Yu, who could leave on his own after taking 9 internal explosions, was like a transformer. His qi and blood circulated slowly, stimulating a certain part of his body. Lu Qing, whose mind was empty, was full of energy again. Both his arms and fists were badly injured, and there were some internal injuries as well. He had to quickly control the fine details and mend the cracks, so as not to miss the best opportunity and affect the competition the day after tomorrow. This also required an abundance of energy to control the realm of all-seeing God. Hence, he secretly used the simplified wholeness formula. After secretly mending, Lu Qing walked down the stone steps amidst the thunderous cheers and took back his phone and other items from the competition supervisor. Just as his screen lit up and he logged into the app, he saw a message from Yan Zhike. What a pity. You almost lost. Shouldn't you be happy that I won the competition? Lu Qing slowed down and replied with a laugh. Yan Zhike replied shyly, I'm a little disappointed. I didn't even have the chance to laugh at you. Only a little disappointed. That means you're mostly happy. Lu Qing pointed out with a smile. Yan Zhike replied, covering face expression and sighing expression, don't expose me. At this moment, the official reporter of Battle of the Kings walked over and blocked Lu Cheng's path with a smile. He smiled and said, I finally have the chance to interview you. Not every match had an interview after the match. Still 3 questions? Lu Qing asked with a smile. Yes. The reporter with a longer face pondered and said, in the match between you and Ji Tong, why were you on par with him in the first half and even at a disadvantage? Why did you suppress him in the second half and leave him no chance? Lu Qing thought about it seriously and said, I didn't participate in the competition purely to win. I also hoped to learn more while winning. I wanted to see different kinds of martial arts and increase my accumulation. The secret arts of Daxing Temple are indeed extraordinary. I almost lost. Really? I see. The reporter nodded slowly. After a few seconds, she suddenly froze and realized something. Lu Cheng's high-sounding explanation, in other words, was equivalent to him not being serious at the beginning because he wanted to experience more of Daxing Temple's secret arts. He made it sound so reasonable that even I was sucked in. Well, it's not right to say that he wasn't serious. He just didn't try to seize the initiative and complete the absolute suppression at the beginning. Of course, this kind of thing couldn't be said directly. If Shi Tong was really pissed off, it wouldn't look good when he met the people of Daxing Temple in the future. The reporter didn't harp on the previous question. She smiled and said, congratulations on entering the 3rd round of the preliminaries. At this stage, there's a small chance that you'll be matched against those popular mighty ones. What do you think? What else can I do? Fight. I can't deny that many of them are stronger than me. I can only do my best to grasp this slim chance. Lu Qing smiled calmly. If I can win 1, it's a holiday. If I can win 2, it's a New Year's holiday. Neither arrogant in victory nor discouraged in defeat. The reporter praised from the bottom of his heart. After the interview, Lu Qing returned to the resting room and focused on controlling his body. He planned to take the club's hired car to the underground parking lot before all the matches ended tonight. That way, it wouldn't be too congested. In the stands, a young man with black hair mixed with silver suddenly stood up. He squeezed from the center of the row to the edge like a fish and walked towards the washroom. He knew that his chance to get the Jindan had come. It wasn't that he didn't have the confidence to take down Lu Qing in his best condition. However, it would definitely be troublesome. Once the battle dragged on, it would be full of variables. Regardless of Hua Qing or Lin Fu, there was no lack of mighty ones with physical invulnerability. When the time came, he would be the one in trouble. During the first round, Lu Qing was competing in the morning. He could rest in the inhuman environment and only leave when he was back to his peak. Furthermore, he was accompanied by his teammates, so he didn't dare to act rashly. Along the way, he had forged his identity, sat in an unlicensed car, stayed in a small hotel, and even under a bridge. He had been waiting for this day as a vagrant. Now, Lu Qing was exhausted after the battle. He might even be injured. Furthermore, it was night time. He definitely had to go back to the hotel to rest. Gu Tong wore an ordinary black t-shirt and casual pants. He disappeared from the washroom corridor without attracting any attention. He had covered all his emotions and thoughts with a secret technique so as to avoid triggering his ability to sense danger. With one more round to go, Lu Qing opened his eyes. His injuries were about 50 to 60% better. He yawned, packed his things, and walked towards the private elevator on the other side, preparing to head to the underground parking lot. This time, there was an inhuman senior who had transferred to a management position at the Sky Moon Martial Arts Stadium. He was also competing at the same time, so he would be returning to the hotel with him. However, he was already in the car, waiting for him. Pressing the button to open the elevator, Lu Qing stepped in and pressed -2. After a short wait, the elevator went down. When it reached -1, it paused again. The doors slowly opened to reveal a young man in a black t-shirt with white hair. So familiar, I think I've seen him before. Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat, and his pupils shrank rapidly. Chapter 563. Without thinking too much, Lu Cheng squatted down abruptly based on his past experience and instinctive sense of danger. He guided his qi, blood, force, and spirit to gather in his lower abdomen. At this moment, Gu, whose black hair was mixed with silver, revealed a cold look in his eyes. Red and white intertwined in his eyes. He exhaled and said, "Army." Without any hand signs or preamble, it was released with the sound. Inside the elevator, a sinister wind suddenly swept up. A sinister wind filled with the smell of blood and brimming with icy sharpness blew towards Lu Cheng from all directions. Spirit changed reality. This was an ability that only physical invulnerability martial artists possessed. The chilly wind poured into Lu Cheng's body, but he seemed to have turned into a corpse. There was no sign of life in him, so the blade and blood couldn't produce any effect. The combination of essence, qi, spirit, will, and strength was the dance stage. If Lu Cheng was a split second slower, his spirit would be attacked and his mind would be shaken. His thoughts would fall into fear, and he wouldn't be able to do anything even if he wanted to. If he was too early, his opponent would have enough time to change his strategy. The power of the ice mirror was just right, not too early or too late. Ji's expression didn't change. He was mentally prepared for the failure of his attack. Facing the squatting Lu Cheng, he imagined his opponent's counterattack. He raised his right palm and aimed it at his enemy like a mirror. Bam! With a muffled explosion, a red fireball shot out from his palm and blasted towards Lu Cheng. On both sides of him, the doors of the elevator closed inwards. After sensing someone was there, they opened again in dismay. Boom! Lu Cheng's Dan force exploded, and his right arm swelled. As he stood up, he punched at the fireball. Covered in blazing white, his glove was heavy. Boom! The shock wave from the explosion shook the elevator. In Lu Cheng's eyes, the young man with black hair mixed with silver was surrounded by red and white. The red was like fire and the white was like ice. They intertwined with each other like a crimson dragon and a frost serpent. The smell of Jindan. Not good. A strong premonition of danger surged in Lu Cheng's heart. He couldn't care less about hiding his strength and directly operated his qi and blood, mobilizing all the power of the Jindan in his lower abdomen that he could currently mobilize. In the blink of an eye, every muscle in his body was filled with blood and expanded. His greenish-black fascia was exposed inch by inch. He suddenly grew taller by more than 10 centimeters and was twice as strong as before. He punched forward like a deity that had descended from the heavens, blowing up the air and temporarily turning the surroundings into nothingness. At this moment, the crimson dragon and ice hornless serpent circling around Gu had already pounced out, intertwining and biting towards Lu Cheng, intending to devour him. Rumble! The huge explosion shook the elevator, and the violent shock wave caused the surrounding metal walls to cave in. Cracks spread everywhere, and some parts were charred black and some were frozen. The elevator was completely stuck on this floor. When the commotion spread, many people listened attentively. In the surveillance room, the corresponding alarm sounded. The security personnel jumped to their feet and scanned the screen, looking for the cause. The crimson dragon and ice hornless serpent broke apart inch by inch and fell like rain. Lu Cheng stood in the middle, unable to take a single step forward. Around his fist, several patches of skin had been torn off. His flesh was mangled, his bones were cracked, and his clothes were in tatters. Some were burning, some were hanging on ice crystals. One could see his sunken ribs, muscles that were almost torn apart, and horrifying skin. His heart was filled with fear, doubt, and panic at the sudden appearance of a powerful enemy. However, these negative thoughts were quickly suppressed by the ice mirror and didn't cause any ripples. In the face of life and death, the only thing that matters is a fine line. Guyu's expression changed slightly. Without hesitation, he spoke again, confrontation. The ancient sound evoked the mystery, cleansing him of his condition. The abrasions caused by the shock wave rapidly healed. Lu Cheng, on the other hand, felt as though someone had drained him of his strength and spirit. He couldn't suppress the sleepiness and exhaustion that surged to his head, almost causing him to faint. His heart tightened. He immediately circulated his qi and blood to stimulate his body. He used the simplified wholeness formula for the second time, allowing the light in his eyes to gather again. However, this wasted precious time. Guyu placed his palms together, one above the other. In the center of his palms, a crystal ball with a white base and crimson spots appeared. It was like a mirage of the starry sky. With a solemn expression, he flipped his palms and pushed them forward, striking out the resplendent ball. From the beginning until now, he had given it his all. Once he took the initiative, he used his most powerful killer moves in order to end the battle quickly. The crimson and white reflected in his eyes grew bigger and bigger. The fear in Lu Cheng's heart subsided instead of rising. Without relying on the ice mirror, he entered the indifferent overlooking state of the all-seeing God. He quickly and calmly visualized the boundless dark and cold universe, as well as the accumulation of dust to ignite his Vairocana. Bam! He shook out his left arm like a robot and shot out his fist. The surface of his fist was covered in a layer of darkness. As soon as the darkness came into contact with the resplendent ball, it immediately plunged the surroundings into a pitch-black darkness. Following which, a blinding light exploded, followed by an exaggerated, dull sound. Rumble. The elevator was already distorted beyond recognition. Guyu took 2 steps back. His T-shirt was still intact, but Lu Cheng, who was surrounded by flames and mist, had a few broken bones. His left arm was charred black and hanging limply. His legs were visibly trembling, his muscles trembling. Seeing his opponent's calm and bloodthirsty gaze, Guyu opened his mouth again calmly. Before Lu Cheng pounced, he spat out a word, formation. The ancient voice reverberated. The air around Lu Cheng solidified inch by inch, turning into steel plates that bound him to the spot. In his eyes, his enemy, whose black hair was mixed with silver, raised his right hand and formed a sword with his fingers. At the tip of the sword, a white, dangerous light gathered and aimed at the dangerous light on Lu Cheng's forehead. At the same time, there was a sigh in his eyes, as though he was sending Lu Cheng off to his death. Ignoring the damage to his body, Lu Cheng reached Dan equilibrium. Gritting his teeth, he borrowed the power of the nebula in his lower abdomen to compress his qi, blood, spirit, and fire force, pushing them away from the darkness at the edge. Just as the light was about to shoot out, Guyu saw Lu Cheng's Dan force gushing out. Dragging the bindings, he pushed his palm forward with difficulty. They were more than a meter apart. Guyu's lips curled. He was about to end his opponent's life with the ice prison holy light. At this moment, Lu Cheng's palm hit the void lightly. The temperature in front of him dropped sharply. A faint blue light condensed and spread rapidly, freezing Guyu's body. That dangerous white light shot out at the same time. After penetrating layers of ice, it landed on Lu Cheng's other raised palm. Half of it was penetrated, but no blood flowed out. It was sparkling. The complete version of the lament of the Ice Queen. Crack! Lu Cheng used the stimulation of pain to summon his remaining strength and completely broke free of the bindings. Pushing off with his feet, he pounced at his dangerous enemy, whose body was sealed in ice. His bloody fist burst out from his waist and hit his opponent's abdomen with a bang. He didn't have any thoughts and could only make an instinctive judgment. Since his opponent had been attacking from afar, he had to drag him into a melee fight. It's either you die, or I die. No, I have to leave this place alive. Lu Cheng's aura surged and shook Guyu's heart, making him feel fear that he hadn't felt in a long time. He hurriedly activated the Jin Dan he had formed and squeezed out a few times more strength. Crack! The ice layer shattered. Guyu's muscles bulged, causing his black t-shirt to burst. His left arm thickened by 2 times, like the arm of an evil spirit. Then, he threw a punch at his opponent's attack. He had enough confidence in this punch. He was sure that no inhuman martial artist would be able to withstand it. If he didn't take advantage of the opportunity to retreat, he would definitely suffer a fracture, or even worse. Boom! The 2 fists collided with a deafening explosion. Guyu could feel Lu Cheng's weakness. A flash of joy flashed across his heart. Before his joy faded, he suddenly heard the sound of bones breaking. He saw that his opponent's hand and arm were twisted abnormally. However, he didn't back down at all. Instead, he pressed his feet inward and crushed the metal at the edge of the elevator into pieces. Poof! Guyu's punch broke Lu Cheng's fist and arm. It didn't stop there. It hit his abdomen, piercing through his flesh and destroying a part of his intestines. Why isn't he retreating? Guyu was stunned. He saw that Lu Cheng's eyes were calm to the point of coldness. However, they also showed the desire to live and the desire to show off. His abdomen muscles wriggled, binding Guyu's unretracted fist. His unbroken right arm had already been raised. Along with the activation of the simplified fighting formula. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the brave wins. Lu Cheng's eyes were wide open. His right fist, with his bulging arm, swung at Guyu's head. Guyu hurriedly raised his arm and formed a layer of ice to block. Bam! The punch landed. With a crack, Guyu's ice layer shattered and his arm bent. In a contest of physical strength, Lu Cheng had the absolute upper hand. He roared. Without thinking about the backlash, he used the simplified fighting formula again. His fist gathered strength on the spot and swung downwards again. Guyu panicked. He opened his mouth and spat out a life-saving cold light at Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng didn't dodge. He merely tilted his head, letting the cold light graze his face with a piece of flesh. Bam! The air exploded. His fist smashed into Guyu's head, smashing it into pieces. Crimson and milky white spurted diagonally behind him like a watermelon that was run over by a car. Thump, thump. 2 exploded eyeballs fell to the ground one after another, leaving behind traces of despair. Guyu's bloody fist retreated from Lu Cheng's abdomen. Together with his body, which only had half a head left, they fell backward. From the beginning until now, the whole process had taken less than 20 seconds. Lu Cheng was just about to catch his breath when he suddenly sensed danger. He hurriedly moved his broken and unbroken arms, one below and the other above to protect his vital parts. His body also quickly curled into a ball in an attempt to minimize the damage. Boom! At Guyu's lower abdomen, his Jin Dan went out of control and exploded. Crimson and white light engulfed the surroundings, destroying 2 walls and leaving Lu Cheng with bruises all over. The wind and waves receded. His body was still curled up. He felt very sleepy and cold. He couldn't open his eyes. His vitality was quickly draining away in the darkness. I can't sleep. I can't sleep. If I sleep, I won't wake up. Lu Cheng tried his best to think of his parents. He thought of Yan Zhike's beautiful and shy face. He thought of all the scenes of the past. He used them to ignite a strong desire to live. He held on with a strong will. After an unknown amount of time, he finally heard the sound of noisy footsteps and the sound of cold air being sucked in. Luckily, there's an emergency room in the martial arts arena. His thoughts gradually blurred. In the Sky Moon martial arts arena, the audience was attracted by the fierce battle in the arena and didn't notice anything else. After a while, they realized that the emergency room was in chaos. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.